It
Hello,
is live.
chat. Hello, chat. How's it going?
That sounded weird to me.
I
Not sure what happened there.
don't know.
Yeah, I'm just getting like weird audio all over the place here. I don't know what the reason for that is.
Oh,
Chat, do you hear us just fine? Any issues?
Is it just on Jason's end, or is it on my end? Because I've been doing some audio troubleshooting.
No, it's on my end. I don't know. I might have to disconnect and see.
V says he hears us fine. Or they hear us
Yeah,
fine.
also, hi V. I'll be back in just a second.
Yep. Don't know. He's left me, chat. What am I gonna do?
Can you speak again?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now audio's okay. I don't know what happened there. That audio was just like absolutely terrible. Not sure what was going on.
That's really funny.
But chat, we're back. We're back. We have things to talk about.
We do. I think. Maybe.
Maybe just a few things.
Maybe just a few things. There might have been an entire expansion set.
A very large one at that.
Yeah.
Modern Horizons 3 has come out.
Mm-hmm.
And now it is time for us to evaluate all 32 of the commanders in this set. And let me just start off by saying, thank goodness it's only 32. I am so pleasantly surprised.
Oh my god, we do actually have a couple monocolor commanders. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, we do. We've got, like... It's like 2 in white, 3 in red, 1 in green. No mono blue or mono black commanders this time.
I've got some words to say about a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
No. I should probably also, show the chat
Show
the tier
stream?
list.
Yeah.
Professional streamer here, don't worry about
Professional streaming.
it.
So, chat, what we're going to be doing today is evaluating all the Modern Horizons 3 commanders in all their glory. We're just going to go down in order by color. So we're going to be starting with mono white.
Or do we want to get the easy one out of the way?
No, it's more fun if we wait.
Okay, we're gonna leave them in suspense for the pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll know it's coming, but you'll hear it in a second. Alright, so let's start out with our number one. We've got 2 mono white commanders, which are Pearl Ear, and then we have Felia. So we'll start with Pearl Ear. So, 1 white. For a legendary creature, Fox Advisor is a 3/4 with lifelink. Enchantment spells you cast have affinity for auras, and whenever you cast an aura spell that targets a modified permanent you control, draw a card. Interesting thing, I learned today that modified only counts for creatures currently, so you won't get benefits for targeting lands, just relevant.
Interesting. That
it's a little weird.
That seems wrong.
Yeah, agreed.
That significantly makes this way worse if it's only creature.
Yeah, it does limit quite a bit of what you can do when you're trying to target your if you're trying to use some of your removal spells, like if you're doing on thin ice, for example.
Yeah, on thin ice. Several of the there's several things that enchant other permanents too that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. So it's a little bit interesting, though, because like the mana advantage that this thing creates is so high that it's kind of like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In many ways, this is a contemporary to Light Pulse. There we go.
I was gonna say, where do we have Light Pulse at? 'Cause this is like 1 point.
Light Pulse is like 8 or 9, if I remember correctly.
This is like 1 or 2 points lower, and I can't decide on which one it is.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to say, like, Light Pulse.
It's extremely easy to say a 6 or a 7.
Because of the mana advantage and card advantage that we have in the command zone, it's able to churn through the deck pretty quickly. We don't have a lot of MDFCs to work with here, no great benefit from that. So we will eventually lose out on the advantage. feels a little bit more like above average, but I do kind of feel like I'm missing something on that body. Like,
Man, it just
yeah,
does so much.
yeah, I feel like it gets that benefit of the doubt 7 for me.
Yeah.
It do just smack it to people good.
It also discounts every enchantment, so your Smothering Tithe now only costs 1 white pip.
Right, you get that generic value Enchantress stuff going on. You just want to lean into the auras more.
Yeah.
And of course, you get to play all of these powerful pieces in the deck too. Like, this is a great addition to a Light Paws deck.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't have to say too much on, hey, that's good.
It's just good, guys. It's just good. Just...
It just works. Alright, now let's get to the one that's a little bit more difficult to evaluate, but also still good.
All right,
Felia.
Let's get the good art here. There we go.
We have differing opinions on good art.
You don't like the portrait art is so good here.
I do not care for the portrait art.
The portrait art is so good here.
I will say that this is adorable, so I love that. But so Felia, 1 and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature dog with flash. Whenever Felia Exuberant Shepherd attacks while exile up to 1 other target non-land permanent. Does not have to be your own. At the beginning of the next end step, return that permanent to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it enters the battlefield under your control, you get a 1/1 counter on Felia.
Seems
so
solid, but it's not doing a whole bunch. It's this white flicker, which...
So, here's my thing on it, and this is not quite a fair comparison. However, this is a pseudo Panharmonicon. It's not quite there.
Yeah, it's not there for me. V says they played against it this weekend, and her being a 2/2 with no evasion really sucks. Yeah.
Agreed. I do absolutely agree with that. However, the good news is this comes down on turn 2 before people have blockers, and if they do have blockers, the thing they're blocking with is often a 1 toughness or a 1 power thing. And this is a deck where you can just play it like you go turn 2 Felia, turn 3 play a creature who has a removal effect on it, swing with Felia, exile the removal creature. So now you can hit the target that you really care about, you just get your punch through, and now you have a 3/3 Felia that's attacking, and now you're able to get through more consistently. It's not perfect, but you don't need to connect, right? You just need to attack.
Just need to attack.
Oh. And we can copy this trigger.
We can't copy this trigger, which is good. Man,
I just like good.
I just love this card in the 99 more than I have ever even thought about it being a commander. So
I like Felia in the 99. I think this actually is better as the commander, weirdly enough, because once you start getting into like you're in the 99 of the Flicker deck, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's other mono white decks, which I would say as a mono white commander, this is competing with the best of the Flicker commanders. Like this is up there with Preston. This is up there with Abdel Adrian, if you choose to play Abdel Adrian as mono white.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's okay.
I just think there's a lot of good stuff to Flicker, and the fact that you can literally just go, cast this on turn 2 and then on turn 3 play your removal creature, which like this is where you're getting your Skyclave Apparitions, your Fiend Hunters, your Lorns of the Third Path, your Flicker Wisp. All of these things are at 3 mana. So the curve is really good, and it's just value from there.
So
I like it. I think it's slightly above average.
So my argument for why it's better in the 99 is actually because it doesn't have to target your things. In a lot of places, this thing is like, get me out of one jail, like major jail piece for my turn, and that's all that really matters.
Okay.
So as the power level goes up, this card's value skyrockets. So
that works for me. All right, so we're skipping blue and black because they don't have anything, and we are on to our mono red commanders.
We're on a banger of one for the first one.
Yeah.
This card's got a bunch of gas. This is Ashling Flame Dancer, 2 and double red pip for a legendary creature, Elemental Shaman. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, discard a card, then draw a card. If this is the second time this ability has resolved, Ashling deals 2 damage to each opponent. If it's the third time, add 4 red pips. Jason, I heard Omnath effects are really fucking good. And then I also get Rummaging, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And then I can Twin Flame this to reset it.
True. This is a lot of things. Okay, so obviously just innately this card is powerful. It's a 4-mana Storm Commander, which that can be a little iffy at times for red decks, but at the same time, like, it's a 4-mana Storm Commander that also refunds itself. It also is only really caring about instants and sorceries as opposed to artifacts, which is, like, you know, a slight issue, but, like, you know, if you just cast a storm spell, any storm spell...
You rummage through your entire deck.
Right, you're just going to start rummaging. This is a deck that really likes it if you can try to build up actual card advantage in hand, which is a little hard for Ashling decks to do.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is also a deck that loves Past and Flames. So...
Yep.
Really... Okay, so let's jump over to the EDH page for this one, because one of the things that's going to be keen for me is how hard people are going on, like, True Storm. And yeah.
The answer is yes.
Oh yeah, Containment Construct's the thing they get to play with. Neat.
Yep.
Containment Construct and Conspiracy Theorist. Okay.
Yeah, 6/7. This card's just insane. And
oh yeah, we got Inti as well in here.
And it
we have the third piece for, like, getting card advantage from discarding cards.
And you've got Pinnacle Monk as an MDFC right over here. I know
which is
can't
nice.
see it that well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I do like that. Red is one of the monocolor decks that does benefit a little bit more from more mountains than other lands, but I mean, we're talking about for like 5-mana effects to do that as well, so it's not that important.
Yeah. But
yeah, you can't just play Braylon in this deck.
Oh, you can play Krark. Hey guys.
I hear Krark's pretty good.
That's a pretty good card. I've also heard that this card might happen to break Krark's Akashima. Just maybe.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's pretty good there. Okay. Yeah, I dig it.
It's just good.
This is one of those decks that I don't know how well it's able to go off twice. But, like, Storm decks always have something. It's definitely at least starting point 6. I don't know if it's higher.
I think it's 6. I don't think it can go higher, but...
It honestly might be a 7. I'm unsure, because it is one of those decks that I sit there and go, when you really optimize it for, like, a CDH power level, I do see this as a potential CDH commander. It's just awkward. Or it's a little more expensive than we would like out of that power level.
Yep. Now, in the 99, this card's insane.
I'm going to split on this one.
Split it?
6/8?
6/8? 6/8, I'm down for 6/8.
I think 6/8 covers pretty well for me, because I think there's definitely a Storm build of this that is probably just all gas, no brakes, and very, very good. I just don't know what that build is exactly. But yeah, I think that's a reasonable one. Okay. Let's move on to our next one. This is an odd one.
This card is weird.
It is Haragast Erupting Nullkite. This is 9 generic mana for a 6/6 legendary creature Eldrazi Dragon with Emerge for 6 generic and 2 red. For you unfamiliar with Emerge, you basically get a cost reduction by sacrificing another creature, and you get to pay that creature's difference in cost. So if you had, say, a 2-drop creature that was 1 and a red, now this would cost 1 red less and 1 generic less. So, and that's based on the Emerge cost. When you cast this spell, you may exile your hand. If you do, draw 3 cards. It has flying, and each creature spell you cast has Emerge. The Emerge cost is equal to its mana cost.
It's so weird.
It is extremely it's just a really odd commander overall.
Emerge is innately a pretty powerful effect.
Yes, and giving it to all of your creatures opens up some things. Okay, so like the specific thing I'm thinking about with this deck that puts it towards the broken territory is you get to do all of your like scrap trawler loop stuff.
Yep.
You get to now have just built-in cost reduction plus sack outlet built into it. Of course, this means that you have to have scrap trawlers sitting in play as opposed to sitting in like being a part of the loop itself, but that's still something. You're doing something pretty broken at that point. But I don't know if I like this.
It's just so much mana to even start going through a loop.
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine that you're probably going to find some 3 costs that you're like, yeah, I'm happy to sacrifice this 3 costs and pay 5 mana for this effect, right?
Sure.
And you may exile your hand. I don't know how often you're actually going to want to do that.
Never.
It's pretty rare. Like you could be an all mana, no breaks sort of deck.
Sure.
Let's go to the EDH rec page, because what I'm seeing here is what I was afraid I would see.
Eldrazi, baby!
Yeah, the idea of let me just emerge out these big Eldrazi. And with the lack of innate card draw that red has, I feel like this is a losing strategy, not a winning one.
This is the easiest way to just lose the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like the better things to be doing are playing with the low-cost artifacts that you don't mind, like just looping through and doing for least powerful combos. I am curious how far what percentage of players are playing with Scrap Trawler? Because I feel like that is the telling card for me. And so far, I'm not even seeing it.
It's not even in the top creatures. It's legitimately not in the top creatures, Jason.
Yeah, let me see. Out of 600 decks, 53.
Yeah, nobody's got the sauce. They're too lost in the spaghetti for the sauce.
Yeah, and a lot of them are still playing the big Eldrazi, which, to be fair, you can emerge them off of Haragast.
Yeah.
So it's like, it costs 1 mana, so to speak. There are ways to go up the chain. It's not the worst.
It's just... I think it's slightly below average, because there's so many better things you can be doing, right?
Yeah, it definitely leans into below average for me, as opposed to above average. I think it is a 4, though.
Yeah, I was going to go 4.
Yeah, then it may be worth noting a split, but I don't know.
It's got the potential to do dumb things.
Yeah. I think it's also got... It's also a decently flexible deck. It's not, like, super flexible, but it's reasonable. Like, there's a few different builds. I'm probably not going to leave any notes on this one, but this is one of those ones that I'm thinking about. And maybe I have to play with it some to get used to it, because, like, my immediate first thought was, when I saw this thing, because it's a dragon, do I put this in Kalia? And it was like, no, I can't see it. But somebody asked about it today in Kalia, and I was now starting to think through all these combo lines that you can go to because of the emerge ability. So I feel like I am just underestimating that ability as a combo ability.
Yeah, I mean... Emerge is, like I said, it's extremely powerful. We've known it's been powerful. Giving it to everything is really powerful.
Yep.
What does that innately enable is really up in the air.
Yeah. Alright, so our last mono red commander.
Oh my god, there's another one I completely forgot. I actually didn't pull this one up just yet because I completely forgot this was a Magic the Gathering card.
It is one of the Magic the Gathering cards of all time. It's Skoa, Ember Mage.
Oh, for all you PDH players, you can finally play your true common deck.
So, Skoa Ember Mage, 4 red for a 4/4 legendary creature, Goblin Wizard. When Skoa enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to any target. And it has Grandeur, which means you may discard another card named Skoa Ember Mage and sacrifice 2 mountains to have Skoa deal 4 damage to any target.
There we go.
It is it's there. It's either a 1 or a 2. It's one of those.
It's a 1 because
rough.
it's literally half of a magic card for 6 mana.
You're correct about that, but that half of a magic card doesn't get to be in the command zone. Or, well, yeah. So the one thing I have going for this thing that I do want to mention is red copy effects actually do work with this decently well because, 4 damage is going great. If you Mirror March this thing, you're living the dream. That said, this bad.
I'm just gonna put it at a 1. I don't even.
Yeah,
think
it's a 1 or a 2, and I don't think it's worth spending a lot of time discussing it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Like I said, I completely forgot it was a magic card and had legendary creature on it.
Yeah,
I should tell you how
it's
bad
not
it
much
is.
of one.
All right, this is
All right.
a real magic card, Jason.
Yeah, go for it.
Eldamri, Corvecto?
Yep, we'll go with that.
Close enough. 1 and double green for a 3/3 legendary creature elf warrior. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. And then it has the base text of pay a green, tap it, tap 2 untapped creatures you control. Reveal a card from your hand or the top card of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, put it onto the battlefield. Activate only during your turn.
Okay.
Elf Ball goes burr.
Elf Ball goes burr. That's about all we gotta say. Like, this is like one of the most elf ball commanders they've ever elf balled. Like, this is one of those ones that wants to play with a mix of big spells and small things, but it's like you want all the elves so that you can go wide.
And then you want all the untapping of the elves chicaneries to just pull your entire deck onto the battlefield and still have a bunch of untapped creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yep, do some big stompy stuff. I don't know about this as, like, super powerful, but it is good. Like, it is definitely good. I think it's, innately, I think you could say it's above average, right?
Oh, I think it's at least a 7.
You think it's at least a 7? I don't know if it's that good.
I mean, it gives Elf Ball a way to turn through its deck even more than it already does, because you cast stuff off the top of your library.
I mean, that's a fair point.
Like,
though looking at a lot of these builds, I do think it is worth noting that there are a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, this is big stompy, as opposed to this is elf ball.
It still works. I mean,
yeah.
Innately it's still going to be elf ball because it's mono green.
Mm-hmm. And of course there are pieces here of elf ball in here, like Priest of Titania and 66% of decks, which is a card I think should just be run in like 90% of this deck.
Yep.
Some guys up here got like Ulamog, which you're not casting from the top of the deck, right? You're just putting it.
You're just putting.
Yeah.
You also can put cheat stuff out of your hand, so if they get clogged up in your hand.
Absolutely. So yeah, you do want a little more fat in this deck than you would want out of normal elf ball style strategies. It's quite good. I'm a little iffy on the 7, but I'm not going to fight you on it, honestly.
Well, it's just like we've gotten so many disgustingly good green cards, like green big creatures in the past year. That's what makes me want to innately just put it in a 7. Cheating on those costs is insane.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we just got a whole bunch of eldrazi as well, right? Like, yeah. So where's the complaint on that? All right. On to our first multicolored one.
No, we have.
Oh no, we have 6.
We have 6.
Right, the one that's a single word, so I always forget it.
Two and a green 6. For a 2/4 legendary creature Treefolk with reach. Whenever 6 attacks mill 3 cards, you may put a land card from among them into your hand. As long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace. Yeah, I heard Greater Good's a really good card, Jason. And getting to then recur the thing that big dumb thing I sacked to Greater Good to draw a shit ton of cards is really good. Lets me turn through my deck a lot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, speaking of churning through the deck, like, okay. Imagine this, which I don't know how many people are actually doing that, and I'm going to get the number of this real quick. All right, only 16% of people have figured this out. This card is dumb with baubles.
Yes.
It literally lets you just turn every land in your hand into something else, while still putting the lands into your graveyard for your synergies.
Yep.
And also, this is already a commander that kind of likes dredge. So if you try to do some dredge stuff here, you don't have to do a lot of dredge stuff. I do see a lot of people are like going very deep down, like we have Mesmeric Orb over here, which I'm not sure about, but
I do love me a good Mesmeric Orb.
Mm-hmm. So this is a 3-mana commander that, when played correctly, says my deck is all gas, no brakes.
Yep.
I do think it requires jumping through some hoops.
The hoops.
I don't think those hoops are hard though.
I was gonna say the hoops are like very large. Giant blow up ball can go through the hoop very easily.
Yeah, basically. And yeah, this is a really important thing about Retrace, right? Like, we're not making a copy, we're casting the actual spell. We get the thing back.
Yeah.
If we have self-sacrificing things, that's nice. Don't need self-sacrificing things, but it is good to have them. We also want to be a very permanent heavy deck. We do not want a bunch of instants and sorceries in the deck. But hey, what do you know? We're talking about green here. It's not like we don't do that anyway.
I was gonna say that sounds like a typical green deck to me.
Yeah. Also, I want to check something on. I see that Conduit of Worlds is a popular one in here. I need to refresh myself on exactly the wording of that card, because
you can play lands from your graveyard. You tap, put something from graveyard into battlefield. I don't remember.
You can cast it.
Okay. Cool.
But it does restrict you from casting an additional spell this turn. Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's just another way for us to play lands out of our graveyard. That's the main reason we want it anyway.
Yep.
So that art.
Yeah, I don't like the portrait art. I'm just showing it off to the people. The people want to see the portrait art. I know they do.
I will say, if they chose a different background color, I would like this one more, because I do just genuinely like the leaf work on this. The leaf and the branches. It looks really nice.
It's like 95% of my things with portrait arts.
Mm. Yeah.
Like 5, 6. 7? Where are we putting?
I think it's a 6.
Okay.
I don't think it's a 7. I don't think it's a 5 either. 6 is a 6. There we go.
6 is a 6. There we go.
We won't make the joke that comes with this.
All right, Jason, you ready for bad? You ready for bad value flicker?
Yeah. Hey, Genku.
Hi, Genku.
What are you doing here?
How the hell did you pull being married to Tamio? I don't understand. She could have done so much better.
All right. We're so mean to this man. So, this is Genku Future Shaper. 2 white and a blue for a 2/5 legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. Or Moonfolk Wizard. Apologies. So, whenever another non-token permanent you control leaves the battlefield, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn, create a creature token with those characteristics, which means you either get yourself a 2/2 white fox with vigilance, a 1/2 blue moonfolk with flying, or a 1/1 black rat with lifelink, and then for 3, a white and a blue, put a counter on each creature you control.
That's a pretty good effect. I hate that they made the Nashi one skull clampable. True.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, this is... So we're in multicolor flicker, which is a good spot to be, but I don't think Genku's pulling the weight here.
No.
He's gonna the tokens aren't bad.
He's gonna get boosted by the fact that he's wanting to play flicker.
Right.
Also, this interacts extremely well with fetch lands, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. I guess it is worth noting that it does work with sacrifice loops as well, if you can find something with that. Although I'm not seeing, like... I'm not thinking of an easy way to do that, right? There's no easy way that I can, like, sacrifice and put Ginkgo back into play, because I had to keep resetting this thing.
Revel Arc Karmic Guide? No. Yeah, Revel Arc Karmic Guide would work.
Okay, hold on. We cooking. Let me get Revel Arc's text again.
I should say 2 or less power to them.
Yeah, it should be 2 power 2 or less. Okay, so when Revel Arc leaves the battlefield, return up to 2 target creatures from your 2 creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so we can Revel Arc loop here to generate infinite tokens. We need a sack outlet then, which this commander does work with. Sack outlets. if we want to do that.
We can gain infinite life, and then kill people with Aetherflux Reservoir. There you go. There's your bad Commander Spellbook combo.
How do we gain the infinite life?
We have a Soul Sister on the battlefield.
Ah, sure. Okay, so we just need to put something. We need another piece. Got it.
I mean, yeah. Like I said,
so,
bad Commander Spellbook combos.
yeah, we are talking about immediately needing a 4-card combo just to start doing anything, and then on top of that, we need to actually do something with it.
Yep.
Fortunately, this does work with Peregrine Drake, so, like, if you wanted to go that route. Let me see. How many people are playing Rebel Arc?
Not enough.
I have to imagine it's not many. Out of the 208 decks, it's 12.
12? All right.
12.
So we instantly get to put Genku in bad or meh.
Yeah. Probably a 3.
Okay.
It is probably a 3, and it kind of just barely gets there. 'Cause, like, it's in play, it's doing stuff. It does get to work with anything leaving the battlefield, so we're not exclusively on flickering. But that flexibility is not great in this color combination.
Yep.
Yeah, pulls into a 3. Yeah.
It's just not good, guys.
And it is being brought up by the cards it's working with, I think. Because Genku is just kind of meh.
I don't know. Genku is asking me to either play Flicker or play good cards, so...
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, the merit of this commander is trying to do combo stuff with it. Because, like, playing it fairly is just kind of bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Shrieking Drake is not a good enough reason for me to play this.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay. So, there's nothing in Dimir, so we go on to Rakdos with a commander that I think is actually, like, a heater. Like, this is a good one.
This is in contention for top 5 commanders in the set.
I agree. So, this is Imskir Iron Eater. We have 6 generic, a red, and a black for a 5/5 legendary creature demon with affinity for artifacts, so it costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. We are off to a great start. There is no weirdness. This is just straight up affinity for artifacts.
This is just good. That already, you could have literally not had any other bit of text on this card. Been like 6 red and a black for affinity for artifacts. You can already break this card.
Yeah, there's probably something you could do there that would be pretty solid. But let's go deeper, because, hey, when Imskir enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is half the total number of artifacts you control, rounded down. So, relevantly, if you controlled 5 artifacts, not 6, you would draw 2 cards, not 3. But don't matter, ETB draws cards in our artifact sacrificey deck. Alright, we're on a good spot. Oh, and mentioning sacrificing artifacts, let's just get that Bosch text on there as well. Right? 3 and a red for sacrifice an artifact. Imskir deals damage equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value to any target.
Yeah, this card's goated. This card is actually just goated.
Alright, so this is one I want to go straight into looking at the EDH rec page on this one, because there's going to be a really clear distinction to me about where Dockside Extortionist is sitting with this deck. If people are absolutely just trying to abuse the hell out of Dockside, this card is insane. It's a commander that easily gets to a 9 or 10 for me, but it is not as good if you are trying to play this a little more fairly, but it is still really good even when you are playing it fairly.
I don't know, man. I'm just seeing a ton of affinity stuff in Dockside in 31% of decks.
Which is enough that I gotta consider it, but also tells me there's probably a divide here. So we're going to split our rating, I think.
All right, so an 8 and then a 9? I've seen this thing do absolutely downright dirty, disgusting stuff.
That's probably correct. Honestly, yeah, that's probably correct. I was going to sit there and say, maybe it's just a 7 with, a strong 7, but... no, 8-9 split sounds about right to me.
Jason, it costs Rakdos, and then has Bosch text, and then also draws you cards. This is a theme of a lot of commanders in this set, just having more lines of text than they actually need to have to be good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to a certain one here in a second.
Absolutely. Also, chat, one of the relevant things to mention here, Imsker only cares about artifacts specifically, but there's this thing where you can do where you're just like churning through your deck with using Dockside Extortionist to get a whole lot of value, and you're just recasting Imsker over and over and over. You just have to have a sack outlet, which if you're looping your Dockside, that's probably how you were. You probably already had a sack outlet in play. Yep. This will draw you into an effect where you get a low-cost creature that you can keep rebuying, like Metalwork Colossus, and you just keep flinging the Metalwork Colossus, because since you have infinite mana.
Or you can have Hangerback Walker or Walking Ballista, one of the two. Still get...
Yeah. You can just get to the infinite mana off of the... If you have true infinite mana, yeah. That'll do it. Alright. So, Gruul Smash?
Gruul Smash? What Gruul Smash do we have?
Bad Smash.
Oh my goodness. I'm just going past all the cards that I keep forgetting are cards.
It's fine. This one's very forgettable. I'm sorry to all the Roshin fans out there, but she
is quite
ain't great here.
It is quite bad.
So, Roshin, Roaring Prophet, 2 red and a green. Oh god, that face. Sorry, 2 red green for a 4/4 legendary creature, giant shaman. When Roshin enters the battlefield, mill 6 cards. You may put a card with X in its mana cost from among them into your hand. So, regrowth the thing you mill. Tap, reveal any number of cards with X in their mana cost from your hand. Add X for add 2 colorless mana for each card revealed this way. Spend this mana only to pay costs that contain X.
Okay, Metalworker is a good card, not when I have to specifically use it for X cost.
Yeah, it's quite a bit worse. Like, this is a commander that wants to be X spells. It's Hydras.
Yep.
Like, it's one of those decks that has a very clear theme of what it's trying to do. It's trying to go big. It's trying to get a lot of mana. Because it will be pretty common that you do, like, okay, cast Roshin on turn 3 or 4, turn 4 or 5, tap Roshin, revealing 3 cards, let's say. Get 6 mana, because we already had the 4 mana before that, now we're up to 10. That's a big burn. Like, that's a big something, and you also have another thing in hand. So I don't think this is terrible, I just don't like it very much. It's not my playstyle.
I think it's a 5. It gets to be a 5. There's just a lot of good... There is enough good X-cost things in Gruul.
Yeah, and you get haste as well.
Like, as much as I don't want to, Fireball effects, like Comet Storm. Yeah, there's all the Green Suns. Yep. There's enough here.
It does fine. And, again, it's paying costs with X, so... I don't think this is going to come up particularly often, but you do get to play with Magus of the Candelabra and Candelabra of Tawnos by extension, which is you can pay X, tap it to untap X target lands, which is fine.
Yeah, it's just okay.
It's fine.
It's just okay.
Yeah, it's just fine. It probably barely makes itself into average. I just don't like it making it to average.
You might not like it, but this is what pure. let me
this
get
that.
This is what peak gameplay looks like right here.
No. Oh, that smile. I guess whatever that is, honestly. All right, so we have a singular Selesnya commander, right? Yep.
This is Kudo. How could you forget about Kudo? King among the bears. Selesnya for a 2/2 legendary creature bear. Other creatures have base power and toughness 2/2 and are bears in addition to other types. So you play a Eula, you play Elish Norn, and your opponents can no longer do anything, and you just win the game.
Yeah, the Elish Norn part's really, really good with this.
A Eula is also insane with this, because it makes everything fight.
Yeah. So here's one of the hilarious things about Kudo that I really like about Kudo. So you can just build this deck as bears. Like, no fault. If you decide that your goal in life is to just play bears, by all means. But because this turns everything into bears, you can literally just play whatever green-white value deck you want, and anything that cares about creature type benefits, namely Roaming Throne, you got it. You're doing it.
Yep.
You are having a good time.
Also, this is a 2-mana 2/2. It is a bear. It checks all the boxes. It's probably like a 5 or a 6.
We need the bear alignment chart. This is a purist bear.
It literally has the creature type bear. Like,
yeah, and it's good. It honestly is a pretty damn good commander. There's probably some things I'm a little unaware of. Like, I don't know how good it is my thing.
I'm going to put it at 6, mainly because I know if you have an Elish Norn in your deck, it just fucking works. And your opponents literally can't do anything till they kill the Elish Norn. So.
Yeah. Yeah, this commander is just very, very open-ended in how it can play. You can play this as a tokens deck. You can play this as a, like, you can do modified-based stuff to just make sure your stuff is outclassing your opponents. You can play stacks. You can do a whole lot of things. The colors support this extremely well, and it's all just good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of those ones I definitely need to see and play more, because I have a feeling that the whole making everything 2/2s is going to be more disruptive than I think it is going to be. I just need to see it.
This feels like a Sammy card.
Yeah, maybe. I definitely can see it as a Rabo card.
Yeah. No, I've already convinced Rabo of another commander later.
All right.
So
well,
we'll get to
let's move on to our
Orzhov
commanders, which honestly, I might have some strong words on these ones. These are interesting. So Shilgangar, Sire of Famine. For anyone wondering what in the world this angel is, or this demon is, this is the demon that turned or created vampires on Innistrad by helping them through he created a famine and then gave them angel's blood so that they can so they would become vampires. Dude's cracked, honestly. Well, at least lore-wise, he's cracked. So 3 black for a legendary creature, Elder Demon. It's a 6/6 with flying. Sacrifice another creature, create a blood token. If you sacrifice an angel this way, create a number of blood tokens equal to the toughness instead. And you may pay 3 hybrid white-black for a, I should say that's hybrid white-black, hybrid white-black, hybrid white-black, not 3 and hybrid white-black. So 3 mana in total. Sacrifice 6 blood tokens. Return each creature card in your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Those creatures are vampires in addition to their other types.
That's a good effect. That's just a really good effect.
Alright. Yes, it is an actual Orzhov Angels commander, if you choose to play it that way. However, I'm just going to point out something that we've been saying a fair bit about one of our favorite commanders of this past year, Bartolome del Presidio. Hey, free sack outlets in the command zone are great. Not good, great. It doesn't really matter what you're getting out of the effect as long as it's not negative. In this case, it's blood tokens, which will filter your deck if you need to, and on top of that, they will load up your graveyard for this ability. Do you get finality counters on your stuff, and that kind of stinks a little bit? Yeah, but, you know, we can deal with that.
I don't know. As I've stated before with Mirko, finality counters are only a minor inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the stuff that you'd want to reanimate with them, you are perfectly fine with it getting reanimated one time.
Yeah. So, this is very, very good, and I believe this is our 3rd Orzhov commander in all of existence that has a free sack outlet in the command zone.
Yep.
The first one being Vishkal at 7 mana. Yeah, we're starting at a 7 on this thing.
Yep.
I think that's the fair spot to put it still. I don't... Because I'm not going to lie to y'all, people. It is 5 mana, plus then you need to use 3 more mana and 6 blood tokens, which is not a small ask. but it's a sizable.
And then you play Solemnity.
Yeah, you can do Solemnity stuff.
You play Solemnity, and then you just go burr.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get into this quite yet, but all right, chat. So here's the thing we can do with Solemnity. First of all, Solemnity has a lot of things that you can do with it. It just involving persisting and undying creatures. However, one of the more interesting things that we can do here is we have our wonderful friend, Priest of Gix.
Yep.
Priest of Gix, ETBs, makes 3 black mana. That is conveniently the exact mana that we need to activate Gengar's ability. I'm just going to hate the name on this, though. I'm going to just call him Gengar. So Gengar here, if we do the Priest of Gix, now if we have 6 creatures, we can sacrifice all of those creatures with the Solemnity out. Assuming we have something like Marionette Apprentice or one of our Blood Artist effects in play, hey, now we get to just now infinitely sacrifice our board, bring them back, and just keep looping that way. So there is an innate full combo in the command zone with this thing that requires three other cards, but it also requires a lot of redundant, like, just bodies in play, and they have to be non-token creatures. So, or at least they can be tokens if your creature that's entering the battlefield is making tokens. We have options.
Oh, by the way, angels have a shit ton of toughness, so you easily get to 6 blood by, like, sacrificing 2 creatures. Have fun.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. My thing is, I actually don't know how many angels I want in the deck. Like, I'm sitting here thinking from the perspective of, yeah, like, the extra blood is kind of nice, but, like, how many angels do I actually need to make this deck good?
I like Angel of Suffering in this deck.
Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. Only 3 blood, though, but...
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I like its effect more than I care about how much blood it makes.
Yeah.
Angel token makers are also good, yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know... We don't have a lot of ways of easily removing token... Oh, we can always just play with Thief of Blood loops. That's cool. So that's another way for doing this combo. Got plenty of Entomb effects and ways to make this happen, so, like... The deck is filling out pretty quickly. Like, you don't get to play just a bunch of purely generic good cards, but you do get to play a lot of good cards, good generic things. So, yeah, I think this commander is just good.
It's just good. It's just good, guys.
Yeah, it's just that easy. I don't know if there's a better build of this, so to speak. Actually, I'm going to give it a little bit more flexibility than I normally would, because it does just benefit you from just playing Angels if you want to. Again, I'm not that excited by the Angels thing, but
I don't know. There's just
this
enough
is good.
Dumb Angels that I'm perfectly fine playing this as Angel Kindred and just going ham.
Yep. All right. Next one. You want to read off Soren?
Yeah. Our good old first of the Flipwalkers. Soren of House Markov is 1 and a black for a 1/4 legendary creature, human noble. He innately has lifelink. He innately has extort. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, exile Soren of House Markov, then return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. He becomes Soren, Ravenous Neonate. He's a legendary creature, or a legendary planeswalker, Soren, with innately extort still, which is insane. He +2s to make a food token, -1s to deal damage equal to the amount of life you've gained this turn to any target. And then he -6 to gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Put a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent other than Soren and that creature.
Okay.
He also has really insane art for his
that he does.
alt art.
Okay, so this is another good commander.
Yep.
I don't think he's actually as good as Gengar, but I do think he does a lot.
I think he's a 6.
5 or 6, yeah.
He does the
6.
one thing that I think a lot of life gain decks are missing, which is actually doing damage to people.
kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does just do the life gain easy stuff. And we're in black-white life gain, so we get the easy combos. Extorted minus. Yeah, it plays good. Yeah, all of that plays well. I do think the extort is... Like, in multiplayer, it's really useful because you can just, like,
You
turn 2, play Sorin.
extort
then...
one spell on turn 3, flip him, deal a bit of damage to people, or make a food, and then take something in 2 turns. It's pretty good.
Oh, also a very important thing, because we are talking about the flipwalkers here. So a little thing about color identity. So while Sorin's casting cost is just 1 in a black, this is an Orzhov Planeswalker. If you look at the little symbol next to Legendary, that dictates your color identity, where this has a black-white color identity. So yes, this is an Orzhov deck. We get to do all the black-white stuff. We do not have to play in mono-black. And even in mono-black, this is not bad, because, again, Life Gain and Aristocrats. Both strategies are very good, and both of them play with Sorin very easily.
Also, 2-mana commanders are pretty good, typically.
Yeah. He do just one-shot people, not too bad. Like, if there's plenty of decks that are able to gain infinite life and then just not convert that into a win. Sorin can. Sorin can also turn infinite casting of something into a win just off the extort, but you do need to be producing infinite mana to do that. This is a much more combo-y commander, but at 2 mana, it's really good. It may be higher than a 6, maybe.
It is not hard to talk myself into higher.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, okay, I've never been huge on life gain decks in general.
But it's just got so much support, and Sorin actually kills people.
Yeah, he's a human on the front, not a vampire. I keep forgetting that, too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a benefit or a weakness once we get into black-white, specifically?
I don't think it actually matters.
Yeah, in the end, I don't think it matters much. But for Cavern of Souls purposes...
but your life gain cards are so all over the place that it doesn't matter for Cavern of Souls.
True. Like, we're gonna play a cat, man. Yeah, we're gonna play Ocelot Pride in this deck.
We're gonna play a 1-mana disgustingly insane card.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a 7. It does a lot on turn 3. It does a lot on turn 3.
Yeah, it doesn't get to sit and play as a Planeswalker, though. Like, we must acknowledge that it will get killed.
I don't know, man. If you play an Ocelot, or an Ocelot on turn 1, and then you go to Sorin turn 2.
It's making food as opposed to another more relevant token, but I do think food is not irrelevant.
You still play the 3-mana artifact guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can convince myself of a 7.
It does just kill somebody. Like, it typically... Chat, you may have just heard it here first, but it turns out killing your opponent is really good.
Even if it's only one opponent, if you take out the most problematic opponent, usually you have a very high chance of winning the game because you are now the problem.
Yeah. Basically boils down to that. Alright. Sorin good.
Sorin good. Very good. Well, let's get to the best of the flipwalkers. I'm not talking about just Commander.
It's Ral.
Yeah, it's Ral. Ral is something. He's 1 in a red for a legendary creature, human wizard. He is a 1/3. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell during your turn, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, he deals 1 damage to you. If you win the flip, you may exile Ral. If you do, return him onto the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. He becomes a Ral, Leyline Prodigy. He starts out with 2 loyalty, but he has the passive text of he enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on him for each instant and sorcery you've cast this turn. He has a +1 to until your next turn, instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. He has a -2 to deal 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets, and then you draw a card if you control a blue permanent other than Ral. And then the thing that actually matters is he has a -8 to exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may cast instant and sorcery spells from among them this turn without paying the mana cost.
Yeah. Okay, so Rowl's a lot better than I gave him credit for. When I first saw him, I thought he was trash because I didn't care that much about just a cost reducer.
Don't worry, Jason. Everybody in Modern was also with you.
Yeah, and as we've been seeing with Modern, which will come up here, so the thing about Raoul is it's really relevant that Raoul is mono red on the front side. Because you can pay a 2-mana ritual, like a Desperate Ritual or a Pyretic Ritual, and then you still have 1 red mana to start doing something.
Yep.
That has been extremely relevant in Modern, but unfortunately for us, we don't get to play with Manamorphose. Yeah, it's not as good. We don't have as many of those 2-mana rituals. But we still have plenty of instants and sorceries in these style of Storm decks that we're happy to do. And we have the huge benefit with Rel in that when you do eventually flip him, which there is a fizzle rate for this commander, it is worth noting that you can just straight up, I need my cost reduction, I'm trying to keep doing my cost reduction thing, I choose not to flip him, and then later when you are ready to flip him, you just lose all your coin flips, and you don't get to do that. But when you flip him over, he is both either he's mana, or he just straight up ults, and now you get to keep going, so your fizzle rate drops immensely.
Yeah, if you win the flip, your fizzle rate's insane.
Yeah, so, he's not perfect.
No.
He definitely has some innate weaknesses that for Commander are much more exploitable than they are in Modern.
Mm-hmm.
That said,
he's a 4 or a 5.
Good.
He's still
at least a 5. At least a 5. I would say maybe a 6 or 7, but I think 5 is a perfectly reasonable spot to put him.
I think he's a 5 because he still has a less than a quarter of a chance of fizzling completely.
Yeah, and that's relevant. The fail rate on this commander is real, as is with any Storm commander. I'm not a huge fan of Krark because of the fail rate that comes in with Krark, but when you win, what you're getting out of Krark is so much more worth it. It's worth the risk of potentially doing nothing, whereas Ral's risk is you lose some life, which Storm decks, especially blue-red ones, typically don't mind spending.
Yeah, I was going to say it. I don't think that's extremely relevant.
Alright, on to our next one?
Yeah, he's just good, guys. Let's see. Next will be Golgari. Making sure I have these open in the correct order.
Yep, it a bug.
It bug.
You gonna get stick bugged?
Okay, Jason, take it away for the bug.
Alright, so this is Grist, Voracious Larva. 1 green for a legendary creature insect. It is a 1/2 with Death Touch. Whenever Grist or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it entered from the graveyard or you cast it from the graveyard, you may pay 1 green. If you do, exile Grist and return it to the battlefield under your control, transformed under your control, which transforms into Grist the Plague Swarm. Grist the Plague Swarm, Planeswalker. You tick up, you create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token, then you mill 2 cards. You put a Death Touch counter on the token if a black card was milled this way. You can -2 to destroy target artifact or enchantment, and the -6 is for each creature card in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 black and green insect. Alright, the ult's huge.
The ult is huge. You make an army very easily.
Great Doubling Seasons Commander, which, wow, it turns out the green artifact, the green, the
green Planeswalker really wants to play.
Loves to play Doubling Season. Who would have ever seen this coming? So, the high roll of Grist is there. I really want to emphasize the floor of this commander, though, because this is the really important thing about this commander. A lot of people looked at Grist and said 1 mana Planeswalker, completely ignoring that other green pip in there.
Yep.
That green pip matters so much with Grist. Especially because the other thing you have to do is either get Grist out of the graveyard or another creature out of the graveyard, which usually costs you mana. So, realistically, this Grist costs 3+ mana. You get to make it into installation payments, but when we frame it like this as a Planeswalker that costs about 3 mana, is 3 or 4 mana, is this as good? And no.
No.
This is not a turn 1 play. This is a turn 3 or 4 play a lot of the time. It's hard.
Caveat.
Mm-hmm.
1 mana, 1/2 with Death Touch are still a very good turn 1 play. It's just you're never flipping him until about turn 3 or 4.
She's fine. Like
Sorry.
That's fine. Chris, she's fine. Like, the front side of a 1/1 Death Touch, and again, perhaps my controversial take again, I still don't think Tiny Bones is that good of a commander. And I think Tiny Bones does a lot more than Grist does. Despite the amount of text on it, I don't care. The 2 toughness does not matter. The Bowman was not the problem. The problem was just what Grist is giving you. And
nothing.
I would say it's not enough. The one thing I do really like about Grist is this is a commander that you don't mind sending to the graveyard. You built your whole deck around getting stuff out of the graveyard and returning Grist to do dumb things. So you get this nice attrition pattern of being able to let Grist die, come back, say you just need to naturalize something with a -2. You do that, you let Grist die again, you try to bring Grist back another turn. It's not too bad, but it's not great. It still costs you mana. It's still a little tough.
The earliest you can do this is turn 2. If you get it on turn 2, it's insane, but really fucking hard on turn 2.
I mean, I think you can do this turn 1 technically, but it's really hard to do on turn 1.
You have to have free mana to do it turn 1.
Yeah, you need multiple pieces of free mana.
Yeah,
like it's like Mox Amber, Mox or let's not even talk about Mox Diamond, right? But like
it's like Chrome Mox and Mox Amber. You can do it on turn 1.
Mox Amber, the Elvish Spirit Guide.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you get to work with is you get to work with Phyrexian Tower, which is one of the things that helps you get there. But again, like, even if you show me this Grist from turn 1, I'm not
scared of it.
I'm not convinced. Like, you're still getting like some hit rates on whether or not you're going to get a Death Touch token, which is fine. Like, I do think the Death Touch tokens are relevant. A lot of the decks here are just bugs. And the deck does do green-black attrition things, right? So it's not terrible, but I lean towards this commander being like a 3, maybe a 4.
I'm gonna put it in a 3. It's just pretty meh.
Yeah, I think it's just really... It's a lot harder to get Grist going than you think it is.
All I'm gonna say is thank you, Grist, for coming out and making it so that Cameron is now playing Grist instead of Zask for his misplays.
Yes, thank you. We needed the Planeswalker to misplay with, not the, not the bugs. Boros time?
Not top... This is top 99 card in the set.
Oh, absolutely.
This is a Johnny Nakatl Pariah. 1 and a white for a 1/2 legendary creature cat warrior. When a Johnny enters the battlefield, create a 2/1 white cat warrior creature token. Whenever one or more other cats you control die, you may exile a Johnny, then return him to the battlefield under his owner's control, transformed. He becomes this Boros Planeswalker with 3 starting loyalty.
And abs.
And abs for days.
And abs for days.
He has a tick up of 2 to put a 1/1 counter on each cat you control. He has a 0 to make a 2/1 cat warrior creature token. When you do, if you control a red permanent other than a Johnny, he deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target. And then his -4 is each opponent chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among non-land permanents they control and sacrifice the rest. Oh boy.
This card is a lot of gas.
Yeah.
A whole lot of gas. Like, okay. We have a 2-mana commander who actually can pretty easily flip in right away on turn 1, or not turn 1, or turn 2, rather. That's actually not too hard.
Nope.
It's not easy, but it's not hard. That's the important thing.
You're consistently going to flip on turn 3, though.
Yeah, pretty consistently. You just need a Skull Clamp.
Yep.
Like, hey, my commander pumps... Okay, let's talk about all these merits and synergies really quick.
It's crazy how fast he kills people. Yep.
Yeah, like, so... The thing, we want to get to the backside of Ajani as quickly as possible, and I think that we are very quickly going to do that. It's very easy to. The backside of this commander is producing an army while killing something your opponent controls. Easy. It is making your army larger when you need it to, which is nice. But the more important thing is, right after increasing your army, you now have just said, hey, each of my opponents, not me, I got a one-sided wrath coming your way.
Yeah, I have a ton of really good blockers, too, because there's a lot of cheap cats that just innately have double strike, or innately...
And here's the other thing. Again, one of the things I love in a commander is good flexibility in the deck building. You do not need a single other cat in this deck.
Nope. You can just play...
You really don't. Because I'm just saying, I feel like just... Hey, 0, make a 2/1, and then Lightning Bolt, now 4 damage, now 6 damage, now 12 damage. We're just scaling up these burn spells, which go to any target.
Yep.
They go face if you need them to. The flexibility on Ajani is insane. The ability to just grind with Ajani is insane.
Also, he has the most relevant creature type for Commander, which is Warrior.
Hey, look, that's a Najeela card. This one actually is a Najeela
card. This card single-handedly wanted to make me build Najeela CDH.
Yeah. And so, going back to that EDH rec page for a second, obviously people saw this is a cat deck and said, meow. Like,
I don't know, Jason. This 1-mana cat right here is batshit insane. But
that cat can just be in the deck. Like, it doesn't matter if this. Yeah, sure, we'll have one more cat in the deck. Okay. For you.
Hey, look, Flare Fortitude's also a really insane card in this deck.
Hey, want to flip over Johnny on turn 2 with ease? We just get to free sack it.
Woo!
Again, realistically, I don't like. I'm looking at all these cats right now, and I'm just like, these are unnecessary. I don't need all of these cards, because I can just play all of the best red aggressive creatures that I want to play, especially because, again, I want to make sure that I'm getting that downtick being online. Being able to play something like Loyal Apprentice and it being just a really good card in your deck. Also, Siege Gang Lieutenant being a really good card in your deck is something I like seeing. Again, we've emphasized this is a Skull Clamp commander, which, hey guys, did you hear about Skull Clamp being a good card? I think we finally broke it.
What? No.
Like,
also, innately, even if you do skew towards cats are very much hating on everything to do with artifact and enchantments.
Yeah, they're pretty good at that.
Like, they do not like them.
Yeah, and again, because the commander is the creature removal, we don't actually need that much. Yeah, we don't need a ton of creature removal in the deck. Hey guys, I know all you commander players love to skimp on playing removal in your decks. Well, why don't we just put the removal in the command zone on the best ability that this commander has? And then we gate the one-sided board wipe behind a single uptick. One of the things I do find very, very funny about this commander is if you wanted to, if you have a turn 2 Ajani, right? You flip him over on turn 2, you can just uptick and then threaten the board wipe for the rest of the game.
Yep.
You do just get to hold that knife over everyone's head.
And then, oh hey, look, I have probably a 4 damage bolt to any target.
Mm-hmm.
It gets bigger too.
Yeah, and it's just going to keep going. And again, we get to play like we do need to get red permanents in play, which is like not the worst thing because there's a lot of red enchantments we actually want for a deck like this. Like for a red tokens deck, which even if you're playing this cats, this is a pretty token heavy deck. hey, this is a deck where you actually get to play Rowan's Talent, and it's a good card.
Yep.
Huh. That's funny. Alright, that's cool.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about that one.
we get Impact Tremor, Shared Animosity, God Bomb. The Rising of the Day is really good here. Descendants, Furies. Yeah, there's just a lot of good red enchantments in
Ooh,
this deck.
Deification's actually not bad here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Power Balance is just an extremely funny card in this deck, too.
Okay.
Yeah,
initially I wasn't very high on Ajani or at least I thought Ajani was a good commander, but not one that I was, like, very excited about. I just thought it was solid. I'm leaning towards 7, yeah, like... honestly, actually, is this an 8? Is it better than... Well, I guess we got a lot of combo stuff going on, right? But this is just pure efficiency by comparison.
Jason, we're falling into the trap of rating good constructed cards based on efficiency and commander. Anyways, it's an 8.
I'm cool with
it. Yeah, it just kills people. It's not hard to be threatening people's life totals on turn 4. Like one person's life total.
And this is open-ended. Again, a lot of people are going to look at this and say, cats. This has to be a cats deck. You do not need this to be a cats deck. If anything, I think the cats deck is the trap. Like, the better way to play this is more of just a generic beat 'em tokens deck. But you can also build this as, like, the most prison-y of red-white prison decks. Just Blood Moon people and watch them cry. That's your red permanent.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even think of that. That's so good.
Yeah, like, this is the stuff you get to do with this commander. I think this is just good. Alright. Next red-white commander.
Infinitely worse than a Ajani, but still really good.
Quite a bit worse, yeah.
Still pretty good.
Yeah. So, this is Flage. Flage, this is chat. Flage, Titan of Fire's Fury. 1 red-white for a 6/6 legendary creature Elder Giant. When Flage enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. Good start. Whenever Flage enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life, and it has an escape cost of double red, double white. Exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. If you are unfamiliar with Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, this is part of that cycle.
Yep. This is Kroxa Uro. This is the Boros version of it.
So, the one big benefit we can immediately say is, alright, so just like them, if you have ways of infinitely looping with flicker stuff, they get a lot better, but honestly, really, we're just looking at this as a more efficient creature. How do you build this commander? You either build this as, like, Boros bolts and life gain. I'm very confused by what people are doing here. Hold on a minute.
I understand this card right here.
Yes, the Luminous Broodmoth makes a lot of sense with Flage, because that's just 2 bolts on the first cast.
I understand on Karmic Guide. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so they got like these 2 mana reanimation. They're doing. Okay, so the goal is they're trying to just actually let this thing sit in the graveyard and just keep reanimating it every turn.
Yeah. I'm sniffing some Fringe CDH brewing afoot here. Are you sniffing it too?
Oh, dude, I already knew about the Fringe CDH brewing, because, like, again, Dockside looping is an easy way to make this work. The other thing that you can do with this is you can just play Torpor Orb effects and have, like, a really good stacks deck going on, and there's your CDH brew. Yeah, Kroxa does loop similarly, but Kroxa also has the big benefit of having black, which really contributes with, like, the fast combo kills.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Flage does not have black, instead has white, which means now we gotta go down a slower path if you're gonna go, like, the CEDH route. It's interesting. It's not bad.
It seems okay.
If anything, it's maybe average, probably slightly below average.
I think it's average.
You think it gets there?
It is just, like, good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Plus I get to go, oh my god, it's Lightning Helix.
That's true. You do get to make a lot of Lightning Helix jokes, and it is just another deck that's full of removal. You know, if your opponent's playing small creatures and stuff, it's fine. I am still more tentative towards the 4, though, but...
I mean, I can put it at a 4. I can put it either one.
I think I would go 4. I think that makes more sense for Flage. Not that Flage is terrible, because I actually do enjoy this card a lot, but it's just, yeah, it's a lot of work to make Flage do what some of these other commanders are doing for free.
All right, Jason. It's the moment that everybody's been waiting for.
Oh boy, we get to talk about...
It's Jody time!
Yeah, it is!
Yeah! This is what everybody
Look at the
was
broken
waiting for.
Simic commanders. I mean, just Simic commander. Okay, so, Jyoti, Moag Ancient. 2, a green and a blue for a 2/4 legendary creature elemental. When Jyoti enters the battlefield, you make a forest dryad land creature token for each time you cast your commander from the command zone this game, and at the beginning of combat, each land creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is Jyoti's power.
I just think
hey guys, it's Simic lands.
Neat. I just think this card is neat, Jason.
Yeah, I agree. I don't hate this card, honestly. It's just kind of fine. It's so this is the unfortunate side of it. Doesn't excite me. However, I will say that I am more intrigued by the land creature strategy that's been going on here. I don't think that Jyoti turns that around necessarily. Like, we've had it going with Chatyova and Joriel, and I think Joriel's actually just better.
Yep.
But both good. It's Simic lands, but jump through hoop.
Hoop, not big jump through, but it's okay.
So get Precon fell geared towards the sky over Omo?
No.
Interesting.
No, it's
very I think Omo was plenty supported.
Towards Omo.
Mm-hmm. Just fun colors. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's at least average. That's for sure.
It's Simic lands. It's hard for it to not be average.
Yep. And there's some stuff that you can do with like okay, so it's for each time you have cast your commander from the command zone specifically.
Yep.
There is this nice thing of being able to like. Okay, so this doesn't go infinite, but you can do some cool food chain stuff where you're just like keep exiling Jyoti to make more mana and then recasting Jyoti and building up a larger and larger board as a result of this, and each of those tokens now tap for mana as well. If you give them haste, you can do some like net neutral, make infinite tapped, or not infinite tapped creature. Well, it is infinite tapped creatures because you would cast Jyoti from the command zone any number of times.
Doesn't this work exactly like Prosh, where it would actually end up netting mana eventually?
No, because Prosh does it for the mana that you spent.
Okay.
So it meant every time you cast Prosh, you're getting 2 additional tokens, which nets you mana. Whereas this one, actually, you go down a mana, technically, if you don't have haste on the tokens. If you have haste on the token, it nets even. That's a neat thing you can do with Jyoti.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's like if you can do that in the deck, you should do that in the deck.
Yep.
You would just play it as a value piece, though, as opposed to, like, I'm going to win the game combo piece. Unless you have some other thing that cares about, like, landfall abilities, because that does trigger infinite landfall in the process as well.
That exact loop plus a tireless provisioner is just infinite mana.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and you can convert that into infinite life, infinite tokens, stuff like that. There's ways to turn it infinite. Which you would be doing it with stuff that's already in the deck anyway. So, again, seems fine. It still kind of seems like a 5 to me, because it's...
Yeah, that's
kind of in the category of disjointed Simic value pile.
I'd love to say the same thing about our next commander. I'd love to say that.
Oh, disjointed Simic value pile? But that's not what we're talking about today.
Anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and slap that up there. We'll
read out the card, though. We'll at least read the card. If you haven't seen this card already, you may have heard of a card called Nadu, Winged Wisdom. 1 a green and a blue for some bullshit. This is a 3/4 legendary creature, bird wizard. It's got flying, and creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes target of a spell or an ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn.
Jason, what is it with one, a green, and a blue being a very problematic casting cost? Because we had Oko, and then we had Uro, and now we have Nadu.
Yeah.
Okay, so to be real, this card could have said triggers once each turn per creature, and it would still be a 10. The fact that it triggers twice each turn makes us batshit insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's innately a very efficiently costed creature.
Lands turn tapped would have been a great way to nerf this. I think that's probably the most correct way to do it, is just have the land, so you can't just keep going infinitely. But no, the lands had to come into play untapped for some reason.
And then also, it's not drawing a card.
No, we couldn't possibly interact in a way that stops you from drawing cards. We couldn't punish you with an Orcish Bowmasters.
Nope.
We couldn't stop you with an Narset, but instead you get to just get around that.
All right, chat. Story time. Me and Jason, our good friend Sam, built a deck for set release.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it this way. Me and Jason spent 2.5 hours trying to power this thing down enough to where we could potentially showcase it for a set release video.
Yeah.
As you have seen, that did not happen.
We couldn't find a way to build Nadu in a way that felt satisfying for the player who was playing it to feel like they're doing the cool Nadu stuff without just doing the broken stuff. Like, we would have had to take out Shuko and Lightning Greaves. Those two had to go if we were going to do this. And we figured Umbral Mantle would probably need to go as well if we were going to. For those of you unfamiliar with how Nadu stuff works, if you have equip costs that cost 0, you can just equip to that thing multiple times. And there you go, that's 2. So every equip 0 is just draw 2 cards per creature you control with Nadu in play, while accelerating lands, while doing all these. It just gets out of hand so quickly and so easily. We could not find a fair way to show this on the channel. And I haven't watched it myself yet, but I heard that Commander Versus video, they did play Nadu, and Nadu won on turn 4.
Yep.
Like, they didn't try to. Nadu just did that in a casual pod, and they couldn't do anything about it.
And then I've been coming around to this more in I initially hated this in CDH, and then I see all the people experimenting with it, and I'm just like, wait, I didn't think about putting that in my CDH deck. Like, the Cephalid Colosseum Endurance line that just innately happens to be there with 2 cards that you're going to play anyways.
Yeah. So this is where we still differ a little bit. So I actually think this commander is... It's going to be a big flash in the pan for CEDH. I do not think this is going to become the big meta staple that a lot of people think it is, or ban-worthy. Well, for casual commander, I mean, sure, but for CEDH power level, I think people will adjust and figure out how to play against this thing. I don't think Nadu is innately broken. I think if you pair removal or stacks plus clock, Nadu has a hard time. Nadu also really does not like playing against turbo decks. So,
sure,
both you and I have played.
You can say that about like 95% of the meta CEDH decks, though. That's why Roxai innately is probably the best deck in the format now.
Yeah, it's up there. Roxai is always going to be one of the better decks in the format because it is able to force checking your opponent. Turns out it's pretty good when your opponent's only interaction is Force of Will.
Yep.
So, and that's one of the issues with Nadu is it requires so many pieces. But at the same time, that's from a CDH perspective, and we're not evaluating for CDH, we're evaluating for casual. And unfortunately, though, most of these decks are CDH, or at least, maybe? I honestly can't tell how much of this is purely CDH versus how much of it is casual, because, like, look at the Rampaging Baloths there in 30% of decks. That's casual.
And then
no CDH decks playing that.
Then you look at everything above it, and that is CDH.
But a lot of them are probably just playing it anyway. Right, and only 35% playing Thassa's Oracle. But then again, the CDH decks don't all play Thassa's Oracle. Yep. So really hard for me to evaluate exactly what we have going on here. I've seen some of them play Greensleeves, so Greensleeves might actually be in some of the CDH builds.
It makes tokens on landfall. Anything that makes tokens on landfall innately has a shot at being in a CDH deck, unfortunately.
And 90% of these decks are already playing Lightning Greaves. Only 85% are playing Shuko. Any of them not playing Shuko are not the CDH builds because Shuko is necessary in that deck.
Or it's just casual costing out. That's it. That's the only reason why Shuko is not in 100% of decks.
Mm-hmm. Umbral Mantle isn't in 100% of the CDH builds. It's in most of them, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, as we've already mentioned, this thing's already a 10. Like,
Yeah,
one of our... the example I love to give on CD... or to give for Commander decks is what belongs in 10 is if you can basically reduce the deck down to, like, 70 lands plus a couple of choice spells. Hilariously, in some turbo casual builds of Nadu, 70 lands sounds great. Like...
Oh, hey, my 30 choice spells. 2 of them are Springheart and Tucko and Scootswarm, and then Shuko, Lightning Greaves, and Umbral Mantle.
A couple of tutors.
And a couple tutors.
And maybe a couple Ram spells because we're feeling fancy, you know.
Yeah, like some Mox Diamonds and Soul Ring and a Mana Crypt.
Yeah. You don't need much because at a casual pod they won't know how to stop this necessarily. So yeah, it's not as broken. Honestly, this is one of those ones where it's a 10 that I also just can't recommend you bring to your casual pods. Like, you need really specific pods to be able to play with it.
This is the Korvold tier, except this is innately better than Korvold because it has blue. Yeah,
I would maybe make an argument that Nadu is maybe I think Nadu's easily in our top 3. All time of what we have on our... If we actually broke down who's in a 10 on the Zur Scale, Nadu is definitely in the top 3 at this point, which means it's sharing the spot with Najeela and Korvold.
Yep.
You can fight from there as to which of those is better.
I'll just say it right now. It's Najeela 1, Nadu at a close 2, and then there's a little bit of... just a tiny bit more gap between Najeela and Nadu to Korvold.
Yeah, probably about right.
It's not much of a gap, but it's a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. All right. We have, what, 1 or 2 more?
We have 2 more. Dude, how could you forget about my girl Omo here? The queen of the
cool.
Suba. This is the cool... Shout out for Simic for having the most broken commander and the coolest commander in the set at the same time.
Omo is legitimately cool. So Omo, Queen of Vesuva. 2 and a hybrid Simic. For a 1/5 legendary creature, shapeshifter noble. Omo enters the battlefield. When Omo enters the battlefield or attacks, put an everything counter on each of up to 1 target land and up to 1 target creature. Each land with an everything counter on it has every land type in addition to its other types, and each non-land creature with an everything counter on it has every creature type.
Jason, I was already sold whenever I was playing the precon and had Tron turned on turn 3 without only having 1 Tron land. So,
yeah, it's just super cool. There was a lot of things with the everything counters on lands that I didn't know about. I wasn't initially interested in this commander, but the more I've seen it, the more I'm like, oh, that's very interesting interactions, very cool things that you're getting to do with this commander. I think I don't know if the everything creature type matters as much as the everything lands type. I genuinely don't know.
It does, because there's these quirky little creatures called merfolk.
Okay.
That do a lot of really dumb things when you have a lot of merfolk.
Sure, okay, yeah, I can see some of the stuff that you can do with the merfolk side of things.
Specifically, there's this one right here.
Yeah, Hawkball.
Right there,
that was pretty good.
That might be an auto-include in every Omo deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hawkball is very good there. Plus, you get to play with some weird cards. Like, if you want to just play Elvish Archdruid in your deck with, next to no elves, that's funny. You can do that.
Yep.
The Azami is actually a really cool tech for the creature side of things.
Azami's super sick, even for the land side of things, because you innately just make a lot of 1/1s. that are now wizards.
Ooh, Spawning Kraken. That's spicy. I like that.
Feline Sovereign. To give all your cats the ability to blow up artifacts and enchantments when they deal combat damage, also known as every single creature now has Aura Shards text when they deal combat damage.
It's a better, more fun commander deck. Kinda. Well, in some ways. Losing access to 3 colors does hurt a lot.
Oh yeah, remember that broken Simic card we were just talking about? Yeah,
We don't talk about that one.
It's also batshit insane here, so...
Yeah. Although, do you think this is a slightly weird thing, just as like a small criticism of the Feline Sovereign part? Protection from dogs might become relevant if your creatures are all dogs as well, but...
No, it only slightly becomes relevant, not really.
Yeah, maybe sometimes.
I like the Haragast Druid here, because they're all allies.
That's a good one.
Scion of Una is very funny here.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, and we're only talking about the creatures side. Let's go to the land side, because this is where the actual fun part is. Hey, Jason, Cloudpost is a good card, I hear.
Cloudpost is a very good card. Cloudpost, you get drawn online on turn 1, that's funny. Or, well, not turn 1, but you know what I mean.
Hey, Jason, I heard tapping your Dark Depths for mana is very good.
We love tapping Dark Depths for mana.
Hey, Jason, I heard winning with Maze's End, like, piss easily, is also extremely good.
Yeah, this is just a very charming, weird deck.
I love it. This, like, sincerely, is so much fun to play.
Mm-hmm. So, now I have to ask the unfortunate question of how good is it actually?
Bada bing, bada boom, it's slightly above average.
You think it's slightly above average? I was thinking it might be just average.
It's slightly above only because you can mesh the two sides of it pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. I mean, I will trust the person who's actually played this deck and seen it be played more than me. So, I will go with that.
I'm also on the Hive, turning on Cloudpost and Tron lands on turn 3. Very consistently. Yeah.
Alright. Let's get on to our last Simic commander. Because from here, then we have some 3-color ones.
The Womp Womp. This card is overrated as hell. Fight me on it.
At least in Commander, it is definitely overrated. Modern and 60-card constructed, it's been getting better than I thought it would be. So, Tameo, Inquisitive Student. 1 blue for a 0/3. Legendary creature, Moonfolk Wizard. With flying, whenever Tameo attacks, you may investigate, or you do investigate, so you get a clue that can draw you a card. And whenever you draw your 3rd card in your turn, exile Tameo, return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control, which the backside is... it's solid. So Tameo, Seasoned Scholar, for a +2, until your next turn, whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, it gets -1/-0 until end of turn, -3 to return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. If it's a green card, you add a mana of any color, and a -7 to draw cards equal to half the number of cards in your library rounded up. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. Okay.
It is incredibly easy to flip this thing on turn 2, in some cases on turn 1.
Almost better, Mr. Storm Ultimus? Yes.
That is factually correct.
We also have, God, why am I blanking on his name? Orvar.
Which?
Orvar is also just strictly better, Mr. Storm Ultimus. So, yeah, in formats with Brainstorm, this card is cracked. Or at least I should say with 4 copies of Brainstorm, because in this format, it is not that good. You can play stuff like that, or Ideas Unbound, I think is the name of it. For 2 blue, you can draw 3 cards, and at your end step, you discard 3 cards.
Yep.
There's also a decent number of spells that are just like 3 mana, draw 3, discard something. And anything that just draws 2 cards also gets there because you get the card that you've drawn for your turn. So you only have to draw 2 cards to transform Tameo. The thing is, in Commander, while she does protect herself a little bit, she's not going to get to race to that ult very easily. At least not compared to other planeswalkers that we have here who are better at protecting themselves.
Oh, Johnny! Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like Johnny just literally gets there the next turn, right? And it's just good. But Tameo, you're going to have to work a fair bit to get there. And in the meantime, what are you actually doing? Like, legit question. What is Tameo doing?
Okay, so I'm just going to put this in 3 because I have genuinely no fucking clue what this deck does.
Yeah, it's just kind of drawing cards, right?
Like,
I know drawing cards is good, but it's not that good. Like,
it just doesn't. This Commander literally does nothing in Commander.
or at least it just doesn't do enough. Because you do have to win the game eventually. Hey, Kelvin, how you doing? So Tameo is... She's fine, but she's just kind of like, eh. She's meh.
It does, in fact, just draw cards. Yep.
Right. And there's not a... Simic... Again, Simic plays like big spells and things that, like, you can eventually just say you will win because you just drew cards, but
Yeah.
It only does so much.
I can make that argument for things that have impact when I draw cards. I can't make this argument here because this card literally does nothing with me drawing cards.
Yeah. Alright, so I have put her as a 3. Yeah. We're going to move on to some 3-color commanders because we have a few of those. Not a ton.
This is where we need resident Voltron player Sam to be here to actually give us a true evaluation on Arna.
Yeah. Here, you read this one.
Okay, Arna. I'm not pronouncing that last name.
Hammerud.
Arna. 2 and Esper for a 4/4 legendary creature human knight. Flying lifelink, ward, discard a card. Whenever a modified creature you control attacks, double the number of each kind of counter on it. Then for each non-token permanent attached to it, create a token that's a copy of that permanent attached to that creature. Oh, boy, there are some dumb things you can do with this.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff. Okay, I'll start out here. I'm actually not like super high on this commander. I do think this commander does cool stuff and is a decent commander overall. I don't think this commander's like cracked or anything.
No.
But it does do really interesting things. Particularly, so like it's really cool with Living Weapon because that's a way of creating a go wide strategy from what would normally be a go wide or a go tall archetype. Obviously, you can just play enchantments as well in the deck, and now you can go wide while going tall. And the 1/1 counters, it's not too hard to find a few ways to just quickly modify your commander.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's worth mentioning as well, like, you don't have to modify your commander specifically, but a 4/4 Flying Lifelink is probably where you want to put a lot of your stats.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting, very, very interesting deck building questions of how you mess with this commander. Because, like, it is not easy to say, like, oh, this is a slam dunk in this deck. Because I could make an argument for any card being, almost any of these, like, artifacts or equipment being in here, and also why you shouldn't play it.
I think you can play all the swords. Like,
they're kind of mana inefficient, though.
Okay, yeah, I don't care. Most of them are good enough that whenever they double, their effects are batshit insane at that point.
Yeah, that's true. When you start doubling up them and you get multiple hits in, plus their protection for getting through, but you already have flying, so like...
Oh, Jason.
How much do you need?
Pip-Boy's
insane with this.
Pip-Boy's an auto-include. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. That's one I can easily say, like, yeah, you should play Pip-Boy. But, like, I don't know. It's like, Commander good, a million different ways to build it. This is one of those commanders where I don't think I will run across 2 players who have independently built their decks and come to the same conclusion on how to build the deck.
It's so open-ended. That being said...
I kind of just think it's a 5, maybe a 6.
I think it's 5.
like it definitely does some good stuff, but it's like I really got to see the consistency on it, because a 5-mana commander in Esper,
It's pretty
plus
rough.
asking me to put a lot of things into play, plus equipping, in particular equipment. If you're going to play a bunch of the equipment stuff, it feels like you really want to go deep on the equipment side of things. If you're kind of trying to do a little bit of everything, then I feel like you lose a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, ugh, I don't know. It's awkward.
Yep, that's
It's awkward.
exactly how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm. But hey, it's actually very versatile. A lot of different ways to build the commander. All right, now we on to Jund stuff.
Hence why I said I really wish we had Sam here, who could actually give us a Voltron
More detailed analysis
on it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have the Undertaker. He doesn't have a first name. He's just the Undertaker. 1 and Jund for an 0/5 legendary creature human warrior. The Undertaker gets +X/+O, where X is the greatest power among creature cards in all graveyards. Whenever Quorum attacks, each player mills a card. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a spell from among cards in graveyards that were put from that were put there from libraries this turn.
Yep.
Yeah, this guy's kind of really good.
Love-hate relationship with open-ended commanders, Wolfbane. Yeah.
Who's Quorum? I'm sorry, I meant to say whenever the Undertaker attacks. There we go.
All right, so the Undertaker here. Yeah, this commander's good. Like just good. I must say, Jund is one of my least favorite color combos. So or when we're talking 3 color combinations. So I'm never really super excited for Jund commanders. However, seeing this commander be played, I'm being increasingly more convinced that it is good. The more I see it, the more I think it is good, not the less I think it is good.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Any Star Lore of Extinction also is one-shot potential.
So this is another important little distinction we'll have to get into. So there's this weird thing about star power and toughness. If a card has a star as its power toughness, that means that the ability that is in effect for it is going to work in all zones. So this means that Lord of Extinction has star power in any zone that it is in, whether it be in the command zone or, well, not command zone, in exile, in graveyard, in play, in the deck, all of it, it has that power and toughness. Whereas a card that is like a 0/0 that has an ability of gets +X/+X, like Urza Saga tokens, for example, their base power is 0. So that does not work with Quorum.
Yeah, but Tree Frog works with Quorum.
Tree Frog does work with Quorum. The big old Tree Frog.
Galta works with Quorum.
Galta does work with Quorum.
Malignus works
the Undertaker.
with Quorum. Oh,
Malignus is the other big star. Yeah. We don't have a lot of stars to work with, but take Golgari Grave Troll, for example. That does not work with Quorum, but it is a dredge card, so you would care about playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 2 really big ones. Mortivore also kind of works. There's plenty of Lurgoyfs that you could play that get kind of you want to get to 6-7 power pretty easily. Sure, that's fine. But anyway, we can just... So Entomb is a cracked card in this commander.
Yep.
For this commander.
You just entomb your Lord of Extinction and bada bing, bada boom.
Well, here's the other thing about it, right? It specifies thing from your graveyard, right? Or you can... During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a spell from among cards in graveyards that were put there from libraries this turn.
So Entomb is batshit insane.
Entomb is kind of like an impulse draw demonic tutor for 1 mana.
Yep.
That's real fucking good.
Yeah. I've seen this card I've seen this deck just do nutty things.
Mm-hmm.
Just do absolutely downright disgusting things.
Yeah. And it still kind of has that Jund efficiency issue. Where it's it does individually pretty powerful plays, but it's still kind of is just kind of grinding out and hoping that big stats gets there. The thing is that once you have 40/40 power, when you have 40 power on your commander, yeah, you'll probably do that. It'll probably just work. At least a 6. We can definitely say that.
I almost want to put it at a 7. Just
I kind of do want to put it at
sheer
7.
amount of bullshit I've seen this thing do. And
Yeah, like, I don't
just
think it's broken.
Yeah, but like I've seen this thing one-shot people on turn 3.
Jesus, I haven't seen that, but yeah I can see it happening. I have not seen specifically that.
Turns out when you Hermit Druid away half your library.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so what, they did like turn 1 Hermit Druid, turn 2 Corum, or turn 3, or like turn 2 Hermit Druid, turn 3 Corum, turn 4...
Turn 4, it flipped their entire half their library over.
Okay.
And just
hit the
happened
Lord
to
of
flip
Extinction.
into Lord Extinction.
Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, I think this is fair. I think it definitely gets a 7. It honestly could even potentially be higher, but I think 7 is a good spot for it.
All right, Jason. Disa the Restless. 2 in Jund for a 5/6 legendary creature human scout. Whenever a Luragoyf permanent card is put into your graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, put it onto the battlefield. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a Tarmogoyf token. Yes, you heard it. We actually factually make Tarmogoyfs now.
I can never not laugh at Tarmogoyf token.
It's so good.
Okay. So, remember that whole bit I mentioned about Jund efficiency? How it's just like you're kind of jamming the thing and hoping it's good enough?
Yeah, that's kind of the stack in a nutshell.
Yep.
Except actually probably worse, because you're playing pretty bad creatures in Commander.
So, like, look. I'm gonna be real with you, Chief. That first ability... So, Wolfsbane has mentioned that how you can do Maskwood Nexus stuff with this in any amount of mill or entomb, right? And then you just get to like put a bunch of things into play, right? If you just entomb whatever big dumb thing you were considering putting into play, that's good, right? But at the same time, I just don't think that's good.
I don't either. I just don't think this card is that good.
Yeah, it's very, very clunky. This is just textbook definition of Jund for me.
Does it squeeze, like, give me a nice warm fuzzy hug of my Boomer Jund self? Mm-hmm. Yes, because it makes Tarmogoyfs, and Goyfs are awesome.
Right, and maybe this is my bias for my enjoyment of like blue tempo and snowball strategies. I just like Disa as a commander who just says, hey, attack each of your opponents, get 3 Tarmogoyf tokens every turn for 5 mana. Just play evasive creatures in Jund. That's not the easiest color combo to find evasive creatures, but hey, look, there's that Changeling Outcast right there. Like, obviously they're playing this because it's a Changeling, but let me just play all of the 1-power black creatures that are unblockable.
Let's play an Accursed Marauder, mill it over. Everybody now has to sacrifice things, except I now have a Tarmogoyf that I don't give a shit if it goes to the graveyard or not.
Like, and again, this is because of wording. It's whenever you deal combat damage to a player. So, you can get 3 Tarmogoyfs in a turn. Mm-hmm. I do think that if your Tarmogoyfs are casually 5/6 stat line, which I think is very reasonable to do with this deck, every turn I'm getting 15 power and 18 toughness. Yeah, I think you will just be able to kill people eventually. You'll get board wiped. You'll be okay because of Jund efficiency. Yeah, it kind of just falls in the average tier for me. It's just... This is probably the commander that's the biggest disappointment in the set for me. Because I was really hoping to see more Tarmogoyf, like more genuine Lurgoyf stuff.
Yes. It's one of those that has the potential. It has the magical potential that we're going to talk about here in a little bit with the certain other commanders.
Yeah. Well, we have another commander that I want to reevaluate later, because I want to talk a little bit about the Kindred stuff, but I'm just very disappointed that there weren't more Goyfs. Just give me Goyfs in the main set. We only got Nether Goyf. Why didn't we get more?
And Nether Goyf sucks.
At least in this deck, it's not great.
Yeah.
Nether Goyf's good and like constructed, but it ain't great here.
Yeah, it sucks in Commander. It's really bad in Commander. Jason, you know what's really good in Commander, though? There's a little known land called Field of the Dead.
Ah, yeah, we got that guy first.
This is
All
the
right.
Necro Bloom. 1 and Abzan for a 2/7.
That ass.
That ass. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create an 0/1 green plate. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token instead. Innately, a second Field of the Dead would already put this at an 8. It also then says land cards in your graveyard have dredge too.
Here we go.
Like I said, innately, Field of the Dead being in your command zone in really good Field of the Dead colors is already innately a 7.
The Necrocy calls to me. Don't. I don't like that.
I don't like that.
I don't like that at all.
Not a fan. Not a fan. I will say this is one of the portrait arts I do really, really like.
Yes, and I see where you're going with this, but also.
Yeah, please don't.
Okay, so. Hey, we mentioned before how like Simic Landfall just like generically outlined, like that's just kind of fine if you're doing it. It kind of puts you towards an average deck. Let's say we just turbocharge that. We take some of the best elements of what this color combination likes to do in lands. We have token synergies, we have graveyard synergies,
So,
we have land synergies.
Jason, what if we made the Frogman,
The Frogman.
except we made his combo even more consistent to get?
Ah, I see. You see, that's a very, very important thing to point out. Let's get over to that their EDH rec page for a second. Take a wild guess. How many frogs? Oh, 80% are playing the frog.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's like that card is just kind of good in this deck to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, so for people unfamiliar with how Gitrog Monster goes infinite in CEDH, because it is a convoluted combo line. Gitrog Monster has this very, very important line of text that whenever one or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. The dredge mechanic replaces a dredge with putting 2 cards from your deck into your graveyard. So, if you hit a land, that triggers. And you only get 1 per land that's hit, or 1 or more lands, right? So you can only ever get 1 trigger. However, if you put in a discard outlet with this, you're going to start stacking draws. So the next thing we got to see here for these decks, how much discard are we seeing?
That'd be under enchantments, right?
It could be under creatures as well. Honestly.
Under creatures. Probably under creatures. Not enough.
I'm not seeing too much of it yet, so there is hope for us yet.
There is hope. Anyways, this is still probably a 9.
Yeah, 8, 9, somewhere in that territory.
Like I said,
Like if you just think of like what your casual commander decks are doing, like at the lowest of low power, how good is second Field of the Dead of the deck? Yeah, that's good. People have a hard time dealing with these attrition stuff.
Turns out, Field of the Dead is one of the very, very few cards that goes in every commander deck that you can make a valid argument for putting in every single commander deck.
Intro Zendikar also pumps the commander. Neat. That is a thing.
That is funny. That's funny.
I don't think that's the way I want to like really use the commander, but yeah, that is the thing that it does. Then, okay, let's get into the mid-power stuff. All right, now we're just doing a little bit more synergistic stuff. We're just kind of efficiently beating people down with tokens and creatures. You know, we'll get there in some efficiency. This is fine, not broken, but good. Then we get into high power where you start seeing combos more frequently. And the fact that this has a very tutorable very, very tutorable combo where with with the Gitrog monster, you had to pair it with Dakmor Salvage. Because that's the only land with Dredge.
What if every land was a Dakmor Salvage instead?
But every land's a Dakmor Salvage, and every land just gets to go, oh, cool, now I'll trigger this Gitrog monster, I'll replace that effect, I'll mill. So you don't even need as many discard outlets as you would normally, but you still want them anyway. Yeah, when you get to the really high power stuff, this is where this commander really starts popping off. And on top of that, like, this is a weird thing to say, but White just offers stacks pieces if you want them. Most people aren't playing them.
It offers removal, Jason. Something
it also just offers good removal.
Something that Green-Black kind of struggles with sometimes outside of Assassin's Trophy.
Yeah, Green-Black does have some areas where its removal is a little subpar. I'm still firmly of the opinion that Black deserves another 1-mana removal spell that is on par with Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares. It just one. It only needs one. And I don't want a 1-mana sacrifice a creature to do something. No. Just let me kill something. Mm-hmm. Just let me kill things, man.
White also gives you Grand Abolisher.
Do the channel lands go off a little bit with Gitrog? Yes. You can, with Gitrog, Necro Bloom, and that you can dredge and just keep going. So if you have, say, a Boseiju, you have access to 1 green mana, destroy each of your opponent's lands, so to speak, and you can start running them out of lands. You can destroy all their artifacts and enchantments. There's a lot of disgusting synergy pieces that come into place when Gitrog is included in the deck. Now, the important thing is, Gitrog is in the deck, so we get to say that. But if you don't have Gitrog, this commander is a much more fair commander. It's definitely one of those commanders that has its highs and its lows, and Gitrog immediately puts it to the highs, and it's very easy to get to.
At its floor, it's still making 0-1 plants. Like, it is still landfall, make a token, which is still innately very good.
Which you can use for sacrifice effects, you can do cool things with that. The fact that, like, White of the Reliquary is just an excellent card in this deck because it just finds another land that you get to work with. There's a lot of good synergy here. I'm not 100% convinced of an innate 9, right? But I think because of the power levels, when you factor in all the different levels of commander, and we are, again, talking casual, but all different levels of casual, Necro Bloom, it just kind of shines from just doing its thing. And everyone plays fucking Gitrog. They may not recognize the synergy, but they just play it anyway.
81% are playing the Frogman. That should be more than enough to just go ahead and slap this at a 9 and call it good.
Yep. I do think it's a very low flexibility commander. I think I will probably, just as a slight, like, a thing, give its specific power an 8 on that, the 5th tab, or the 5th column, but, like, the whole deck as a whole is a 10. Or is a 9, sorry. The synergy is a 10.
Synergy is a 10. The deck as a whole is a 9.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these decks are going to look very similar, so...
Alright, we've got 7 more commanders.
Yep.
Yeah, let's get this. We'll speed up a little bit. There won't be a whole lot of conversation on the colorless ones.
No.
So, Keith. Famed Mechanist. 1 blue, red, white for a 3/3 legendary creature, Dwarf Artificer with Fabricate. So when this enters battlefield, you either put 1/1 counter on it, or you make a servo. Other non-token creatures you control have Fabricate 1. Pay 2, tap, choose 1, populate, or proliferate.
It's solid.
It is solid. There's combo potential with this as well, because you are just making... all of your creatures now come with a token. More specifically, they come with an artifact. So, when you start getting into some of your loops, and this works with your artifact creatures, you can start doing some silly things with this. I think it's probably worth putting a split on this commander just outright, because I know that if you're just playing this as, like, artifact creatures.deck, that's fine. If you're playing this as sack combos, you're doing a lot better.
Yep.
And you are in the perfect color combination for artifact sack combos.
Yeah, as it turns out.
All of it's good, and there's just a bunch of random cards that support what you're trying to do anyway. I'm kind of feeling 4/6 or 5/6.
I'm gonna give it a 4/6.
4/6 sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I would like to see more of it, but it's one of those ones where I probably will just have to play it myself or something.
All right, Jason, I'm just going to go ahead and put this at an 8. Beanie, our good friend Beanie Bro here. Our good friend Beanie Bro.
Yeah, it is probably an 8. I'm thinking, I really like this commander, and I almost want to put it at a 9, but I think 8 is probably fair.
I mean, if you want to put it at a 9, you don't have to convince me that hard. This card is...
I had to convince myself is the problem.
This card is actually insane.
Mm-hmm. So, this is one Satya, Aetherflux Genius, 1 and a Jeskai for a 3/5 legendary creature, human artificer, with menace and haste. Whenever Satya attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of up to one other target non-token creature you control. You get 2 energy. At the beginning of the next instep, sacrifice that token unless you pay an amount of energy equal to its mana value. Real talk, Chief, we don't care about keeping the creatures around. We're here for the ETBs, we're here for the sack triggers. Solemn Simulacrum, we love you.
No, I have one creature that I would like to keep around. I like having Terror of the Peaks.
That's pretty good.
Hey, Jason, what if I had 2 Terror of the Peaks?
That seems pretty nice.
And then what if next turn I had 3 Terror of the Peaks?
I think we can get 4 Terror of the Peaks.
I think
all
we
we
can
need to
get
do
4.
is just... I think we just need a Mondrak.
Oh, hey, by the way, this thing says whenever it attacks, so,
Extra combats, let's go,
extra
baby.
combats, let's go. You know what? I've heard Ancient Copper Dragon's a really damn good card in Commander.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. That's a pretty good one.
What if it now had haste guaranteed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The kind of side effect of giving all of your creatures haste, or any creature that you care to copy, gets to have haste, right? That's pretty damn good. I don't think you have to go super deep on energy, but even if you do go deep on energy, I don't think you're in a bad spot for doing it. This is just a solid commander all around, even with the energy. Which I do consider a relatively weak mechanics for commander still, but it got a lot better.
It got
a lot better.
Significantly better.
Mm-hmm.
And the way this interacts with a lot of the energy cards is quite good.
Yeah. Turns out the back-to-back energy support was good.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Red, blue, white, we all like the bonk. So you're able to do some pretty good stuff. Yeah, there's probably a synergy that I can think of somewhere that would get me to say, oh yeah, it's definitely a higher than an 8. What up?
I heard you like flipping a Johnny on turn 3.
I love flipping a Johnny on turn 3. It's great. If I turn Jaxus into a Satya deck, I would recommend it. I think Jaxus is a perfectly fine commander, and I don't fault anyone for playing Jaxus. But I do just think Satya is better. Just for doing basically the same thing, Satya is better.
Yeah, so, spoiler alert, my deck basically cut all the energy stuff outside of the insane energy cards.
Mm-hmm.
And just plays a bunch of punchy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would call that deck at least an 8, maybe a 9.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, okay, so like the card that you want to hold on to with this deck is Portraiser. I think that's the infinite combat step one. Portraiser is 3 red for a orc pirate. It's a 4/4. Whenever Portraiser deals combat damage to a player, untap each creature you control. There's an additional combat phase. After this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase, and it says Portraiser can't attack a player. It has already attacked this turn. Good news, you're making token copies every single time, so as long as you can hit somebody with a new Portraiser, we're just going.
Yeah.
Also, the menace on Satya has been so damn relevant.
Also, it's a 3/5. It has one of the safest attacks in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
yes,
just
Bloodthirster also does work.
Kind of. So the big issue with Bloodthirster is it only untaps itself. It doesn't untap everything else.
Yeah.
So if you have a Vigilant Satya, yes, this does just work. If you don't have Vigilance on Satya, which I don't really recommend going out of your way to try to do, then no, it won't work. So it doesn't quite work the way I would want it to, but that's okay.
Oh, I also found out a really funny interaction playing Arena with this card.
What's up?
Turns out Ocelot Pride, if you make a token copy of Ocelot Pride and you have Ascended, it then creates 2 more copies of Ocelot Pride and 32 cats.
I see. So an army in a can, you're saying?
Yep. That is this card in a nutshell. It is an army in a can.
Yeah. Even without the energy stuff, like, this commander just has a lot of support going for it. It's so damn good.
Yep.
And it feels like a Jeskai commander.
Yes, that is the biggest thing. It actually factually feels like a Jeskai commander.
Which, I love that. There's way too many Jeskai commanders that don't feel like Jeskai commanders. They feel like blue-red commanders, basically. Yep. So, very glad to see this. Alright. 5-color?
As last, the Swelling Scourge. 3 colorless for a 2/2 eldrazi. Whenever Azless the Swelling Scourge or another colorless creature you control dies, you get an experience counter. You pay Wooburg. Creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of experience counters you have. It then also gives all your Scions and Spawn Indestructible and Annihilator 1 until end of turn. Okay.
Real talk, very fun commander. I don't think it's broken.
No.
I think it's actually pretty damn fair. But hey, this is how you can do some really cool Eldrazi stuff.
We make it a Scion, everybody. We make it a Scion.
We make it a Scion. We make it a Spawn. You gotta jump through some hoops a little bit with the whole experience counters thing, because, like, okay, so the thing that people aren't doing that, of course, you could do is you can always just do artifact sack loops, and there you go. That's an easy way to get infinite counters if you can try to do that. But the thing that you really want to be playing with is a bunch of Scions and Spawns and doing your big Eldrazi stuff. It just kind of plays fine.
So the one card that I expected to see in more decks that I don't see is Azuri Claw of Progress.
Oh, the Proliferate? Oh, no. That's the... Whenever a small creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get experience counters. Yeah. Because you get to... Oh, there he is.
It's a 54% of decks.
There we go. Yeah, that's a good number. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, Spawn... So the thing is, there's a lot of Spawns and Scions, and the cards that come with them are not very efficient. You know, Eyeless Watcher over there are 4 mana, makes 2 Scions that we can sacrifice for mana, and it itself is a 1/1. Indeed. But that's like a synergy piece in the deck that I kind of sit there and go, I don't know if I would ever remove it.
As I was building this deck for set release, that was kind of 95% of the cards that I put into the deck. It's like, I can't justify removing this, even though I don't like it being here.
Yeah. It is one of those commanders that makes you play a bunch of bad cards.
Yep.
Which is cool. We love commanders like that play a bunch of neat bad cards and make them interesting or good.
Annihilator 1 is not irrelevant.
No,
especially
certainly
when you
not.
have 15 Scion respawns that are now get +3/+3 in Annihilator 1. 4/4s with Annihilator 1 are insane.
So the whole with Chromatic Orrery is interesting. I don't know how necessary it is with this commander, but it is helpful. It's very helpful. Although it does also have that very awkward thing. Doesn't Chromatic Orrery, you're not using it for the card draw. That's not the main purpose that you're doing it anyway. But how that does end up helping you pay colorless mana as though we're mana of any color is good. But yeah, it gives you a lot of options. You are definitely going to stumble over your mana a bit because you don't get to play a whole bunch of the colorless lands that you would play out of a lot of Eldrazi decks.
We're going to talk about a lot of those colorless lands in the next Eldrazi commander, but
yes, we will. I do think this deck ends up stumbling on itself a little bit, and it plays fine. But at the same time, it's Nice 5, 4.
It's probably a
somewhere.
5.
I think 5's fine for it.
I mean, it's still
it's
5
nice...
colors. It still gets all the tomfuckery cards in the world, so...
Yeah. I enjoy this commander a lot. But it doesn't have a lot of flexibility going for it. Or, well, it does have flexibility going for it, but not a lot of flexibility. It's like niche decisions. You don't get to change its core strategy very much.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about
I like it.
Let's talk about a really... This card has actually been putting in way more work than I thought it would initially.
Same. Alright, so here is Ulamog Fused Atrocity. This is the worst mana cost I've ever seen on a card.
6! We have 6 color commanders, everybody!
So, this commander, all of these casting costs are hybrid with a colorless, but it is Wooburg, hybrid white colorless, hybrid blue colorless, etc., etc. For a 2/5 legendary creature Eldrazi with Void, and whenever you cast an Eldrazi spell, you may pay 2 colorless mana. If you do, copy all spells you control, then copy all other activated and triggered abilities you control. You may choose new targets for the copies. Okay. Obviously, the thing you're supposed to be doing here is casting the big Eldrazi, paying 2, and then doubling up both its cast trigger and its actual body.
I'm just gonna go ahead and go here to EDH Rec.
Because it does a lot.
This card does so much, as it turns out.
Yeah, the easy thing here to do is just big colorless ramp. Because one of the fast things for this, one of the very cool things about this is that the entire cost can be paid on colorless mana. So, despite the fact that this is a 5-color commander, and I've talked about this multiple times on our Discord. By the way, if you aren't a part of our Discord, I highly recommend joining. Like, you can just chat with me all the time about these sorts of things, get deck building advice, or just talk with other people who are interested in your decks. One of the things about Ulamog is anytime people talk to me like, hey, what do I want to do for this deck? My immediate suggestion to them is just cut white from the deck. Like,
except for Eldrazi Displacer, you should still probably play that card.
I don't see a need for it. I think it's fine, but I don't see a need for it.
So my argument with that is actually protecting yourself more than anything.
Sure, that's fine.
So
yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable to do as well if you want to. But one of the things that you get to do is you can just play a full colorless mana base if you wanted to. Or a near full colorless mana base.
I want to just show this on stream.
Yeah, go for it.
And actually commend WotC for once for making a insanely good mana base for one of their precons.
Yeah, all these pain lands.
This is exactly how I didn't change the mana base except putting in waste. That was it.
You put in a waste, yeah.
I put in a singular waste.
Yeah, the mana base works extremely well because you just don't need that many colors of mana.
Yep.
You only need 1 or 2 pips of any color. So, if you want to leave in the Eldrazi Displacer, you can leave in the Eldrazi Displacer.
So anyways, I heard paying 12 mana for the new Ulamog's really fucking good.
Well, to be fair, the copy's not non-legendary, right?
Okay, but I still exiled 2 opponents half of their libraries.
That's true.
And it's probably going to end up being like a 15/15 at that point.
Yeah, it gets thick real fast. So, again, you can just play this as generic big Eldrazi, right? But there's, of course, the other angle of a commander like this, which is... Alright, so anytime you cast an Eldrazi spell.
Hey,
so we just have to...
This is good.
Yeah. You don't have to play this with just Eldrazi. You can do Maskwood Nexus things. You can do a whole lot of other things as well with... So, apparently there's a CDH build of this deck. I haven't seen too much details on it. However, the CDH build is that you're trying to essentially get to some of your handful of very big Eldrazi, and you're just generating infinite colorless mana along the way, casting a big Eldrazi, returning it to your hand, and getting the cast trigger over and over and over and over and over. That's it. That's all you need to do. That turns out that that's enough to actually just kill them.
Mm-hmm.
You get them good.
You get them good.
So, it's actually not too hard to just win the game with this thing.
Also,
and as a result...
as much as I don't like a lot of these mopey 3 and 4 cost eldrazi, if I pay 6 and I get 2 of them,
mm-hmm.
I think they're good at that point.
Yeah, I agree. I think the commander is honestly just quite solid overall. I do love that you can literally just play this thing on colorless mana. Definitely starting point for me is 6.
I almost want to go 7 just because of how... Like, this deck does just have an inevitable point. If it hits 8 mana, it's hard to stop.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, you do still have to play a whole lot of, like, kind of mopey creatures at times. That it's, like, it's good to copy, and when you start getting into combo stuff, you just start losing combo stuff, but at the same time, big stompy go good, and it does encourage you to play a lot of fast mana, because you just cast your commander as quickly as possible, and then you start casting your other spells as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not sold on the 7, because I'm just looking at the other things that's in that tier, and I'm like...
Yeah, it's probably like it might be the top of the 6, though.
Yeah, it's like top of 6 near 7 for me. I could maybe even do a 6-7 split if we wanted to, just to express that, but...
I think that would be
the
correct way of doing.
Yeah, that's fine then. It does require to be playing specifically Eldrazi cards, so we don't have a ton of flexibility here. But we do get to do some cool stuff, and Ulamog is just a solid card overall.
Also, actually good portrait art.
That's just Ulamog with extra steps.
Yeah,
and to be fair, isn't it it's just a combination of 2 Eldrazi in a what-if situation.
I love it. I love it. You took my 2 favorite Eldrazi literally together.
Alright, let's get into our colorless ones here.
Spaghetti monster number 1.
Okay, so the things we're going to have to say about all of these commanders are going to be pretty straightforward and the same almost every time. You play the ramp, you do the big thing. If you get board wiped, you be the sad. You have no competition against combo. You just have to hope that your big spells do stuff. The good news with Emrakul is top end is gain control of all their stuff, board wipe, and then... Okay, cool, well, they board wiped and you board wipe them back, you know?
Yep.
You will never madness this thing.
Nope.
If you are trying to, please don't. Don't command beacon me.
Yeah, I know it's going to be in a lot of decks. Don't do it. Just play all your fast mana, play all of your colorless ramp. Like, just do the correct things.
Yeah. There's also some awkward things. Again, I'm not expecting it to be a particularly commonly played card, but, you know, there is stuff like the new Flare of Malice, for example. That is not something you're wanting to play against.
Nope.
Because that will just one-sided board wipe you. It's not common that we see, hey, sacrifice your largest creature, but it does come up. So you can just get blown out by your own spell. It's not going to happen too often, though. It's well worth the risk, I would say. That said, this commander is 3, maybe 4?
This one's a 3.
This one's a 3? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. The next one is... Who do we have here?
Spaghetti Monster number 2, Kozilek.
Okay. This is even worse.
Yes.
It's 9 mana, it's much more castable than the 12 drop, but at the same time, when we're getting to these high amounts of mana cost, like,
it's probably
the difference between...
mana cost.
Yeah, they're pretty close. I will say the difference of 3 mana is a pretty sizable amount. The difference between, you know, Emrakul's 15 for, like, Aeon's Torn versus 10 mana for it is... 5 is a very big difference, and 3 is still a pretty sizable difference. But 9 mana for... Yeah, exile up to 2 target... Or each 2 target players manifest 2 cards from their hand, and then for each manifested card manifested this way, you draw a card. So you are going to be drawing 4 every time off of this, and you get to pump up your team a little bit. It's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe this is about on par with World Anew, honestly.
In Commander, they're both 3s.
Yeah, I mean, because you're the one who's drawing the cards every time, so yeah, probably fine. It's just... Eh.
Okay, now let's talk about the actual real colorless commander.
All right, the hot one. We get to the hot one, the one we have actual things to say about.
Ulamog the Defiler. 10 whole mana for a 7/7 spaghetti. Whenever you cast this spell, target opponent exiles half their library rounded up. It has Ward Annihilator 2. Whenever Ulamog the Defiler enters the battlefield... Ulamog the Defiler enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the greatest mana value among cards in exile.
Mm-hmm.
Ulamog then has Annihilator X, where X is the number of 1/1 counters on it.
Okay, so this is your Haymaker. We're not... This is we have built a generic colorless ramp deck, and we wanted the biggest, baddest thing we could play. By comparison to Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, who kind of does something similar, in that it comes down, it does a big impactful play, and then it starts chipping away at your opponents until eventually they will die. This one kind of just takes a more direct approach to the whole killing them thing. It is a lot less good at the answering a problematic thing to help you get to that combat step, but once you do get to that combat step, somebody is fucking dead. Like...
After getting... Yeah, I did kind of make Kelvin sacrifice 16 permanents with Ulamog.
Yeah. That's pretty fucking good. Like, a singular attack with this thing will kill people. You don't have a ton of options for haste, which is something you would really like, but you do have a few options for them in the form of your 3 sets of boots and a drawbridge, right? Like, so, and I think that is much more relevant here than it would be normally.
Oh, hey, by the way, if somebody's playing Quorum and they just happen to exile their Lord of Extinction, this thing now has Annihilator 30.
It's mana value, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Mana value. But hey, I mean, if you take... Here's the low bar for me, right? Even in the most powerful of pods, right? I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm going to exile half of your deck. I hit your Force of Will. I got 5 counters on my guy. I have Annihilator 5.
The absolute lowest end is Annihilator 5.
Pretty much.
The average end is about Annihilator 7.
Yeah, people play big spells in their decks, and you will hit them. You know, one of my favorite things... Like, look, let's just say here, hey, green player, fuck you. Give me that Crater Hoof. I would like Annihilator 8 today.
Also, by the way, it doesn't care if you exile it off the flip. It's just anything in exile.
Correct. If they put something in exile from whatever godforsaken thing they're doing...
Swords are Path the Big Dumb Thing. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, sure. This is one of those decks that also encourages you to play a little bit of Grave Hate, which is nice. Because just a Tormod Script or a Relic of Progenitus is actually doing some good work.
Somebody's playing a Draco is probably the best case scenario for you.
Right. And again, we don't want to get too focused on the high roll here. We want to talk about what you can realistically expect of this commander. This is probably cast this on turn 6 a decent amount of the time, turn 5, turn 6, because you're just going to ramp like crazy, and we have gotten new lands to help with ramping like crazy. Thank you, Ugin's Labyrinth. Yeah, and then you're going to at least take one person out of the game. Does this win the pod?
No.
No, and that's kind of the issue. It's really good at doing this big, splashy, scary play. Winning the game is the harder thing.
Now, I think here's gonna be my argument for why this is like a 4 or a 5.
Mm-hmm.
In lower power pods, this is going to steamroll because of how you're expected to build your deck to actually get this thing out.
Yeah, and also lower power pods. Like, obviously, there's plenty of there's plenty of wraths at lower level pods, but until you get to like the real like battle cruiser magic, where everyone's just like, no, we just get all the big things. Nobody's gonna kill your thing.
Yeah,
that nobody wants to, because that Ward 2 hurts.
Ward Annihilator 2, I've heard, is pretty backbreaking.
Yeah, that thing is painful. And you have a couple of options for protecting now, which I should mention that all colorless decks have kind of gotten a bump here. Not enough that I think I need to reevaluate all of them, but the Eldrazi decks in particular, or the ones that are looking to go a little bit heavier on Eldrazi, they have gotten better.
You do just get overloaded pro all colors
Yeah.
forward.
Mainly the thing, from a reevaluating standpoint, Ulamog Ceaseless Hunger, we currently have the 3. I think we can bump that to a 4 now.
Oh yeah, easily.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, this Eldritch Immunity is something you have to play in every single colorless deck now.
Yeah. Then, on the flip side of the soap, how we feeling about where this actually goes, though?
I think it's a 4. It's either a 4 or 5.
4 would put it on par with Ceaseless Hunger, which I think is fair. I think it's a little better than Ceaseless Hunger, but not enough that's necessarily a full point ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 4 feels about right to me. 4 to 5, somewhere in that territory. I could see it either way. I'll maybe just give it that split, because I do think it kind of gets that edge over Ceaseless Hunger in some cases. Just because Ceaseless Hunger answers 2 things and then starts wearing down your opponents, whereas this one says, I can't wear you down, but I will just kill you.
Yeah. And also, good luck killing me.
Yeah, seriously, good luck trying. Like, it is hard to do that with this commander. Not a lot of support, though, or a lot of flexibility. So I like it. It's a good 4, definitely.
Yep.
Alright. Now, it is almost time for me to get off here, but I do want to address 2 quick other commanders. We kind of delayed talking about a more in-depth analysis of loot, because we were like, hey, we're going to get more Kindred stuff soon.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
The thing is, the only Kindred permanent that we got was
the eldrazi enchantment that doesn't do anything for loot.
Correct. And, well, actually, we got one more. We have a Tarmogoyf enchantment that makes Tarmogoyf tokens. I don't think that changes anything for loot. I think loot is remaining exactly the same where it was. For those of you wondering what loot's rating was, loot's a 7. So I think loot remains a 7.
All right, let's talk about the one that actually did get a whole bunch of changes. We currently have her at a 5.
She's definitely not a 5 anymore. She has gone up.
She has gone up, I would say, a significant amount. She might be a 7 now.
She's definitely at least a 6.
Yeah.
Dr. Madison Lee, so this is our energy commander, right? Now we have a whole lot of artifacts that produce energy for us. The ones that were in the precon didn't change a whole lot, and now we have a lot in the main set and in the commander set that have improved her. So...
I'm thinking specifically like Aether Refinery with her is really, really good.
Yeah.
Izzet
Generatum.
Yeah.
Generatum.
Solar Transformer is also like just a pretty solid mana rock in this deck, as it turns out.
Yeah, it is, because it does just tap for colorless as well. Our Kitchen Permanent's coming out in the new Bloom Burrow set. I have not heard anything about Kindred showing up in Bloom Burrow. By the way, I should specify, the old thing we're referring... Kindred is a new card type. It's referring to the same thing as what Tribal used to be. Tribal has been phased out in favor of Kindred. They function the exact same way.
Yep.
Eldrazi Immunity and Causeless Command for loot. Well, the thing about that is that you need them to be permanents for the card advantage on loot. So instants and sorceries don't matter. We actually got a decent number of instants and sorceries for Kindred, but we did not get permanents, which is the problem.
Yep.
So that's just awkward. I don't know. I still feel like the base deck of I'm doing energy stuff is still probably just a 6.
Yeah, but then you also get
there's the combo stuff you can do.
Artifact combo stuff. That's why.
So is this a 6-7, 6-8 split then?
It's probably a 6-7 split.
Okay, that's fine with me, and I can now bump the support up to a 10 though.
Oh yeah.
Because it now actually has it. And I guess relevant question: did Liberty Prime change?
No.
Just checking. Sacrifice it. Yeah, I mean, it can attack more. That's a pretty beefy attacker.
I don't.
What do you have it as a 3?
It might go to a 4. There you go.
Yeah, I think it can exist as a 4. The support got better, so it got a bump. All right.
That being
So
said, I think I'm done here. Are you done here,
all right.
Jason?
Let's get one last look at the list here. So we have our Broco number 10. We got our pretty good number 9, or well, almost broken number 9 here. Extremely strong with Imsker and Ajani and Satya. Yeah, I think all of those actually do deserve that spot. Still iffy on Pearl Ear at 7, but I think that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also still a little iffy on Eldamri at 7, but I think that's still fine. Shilkengar, good old Gengar. Yeah, 7 feels good. Soren feels good at a 7. Corum probably stays 7.
Like I said, I've just seen it do enough dumb things.
The Jund, it does some really good stuff. It doesn't feel quite smooth for me, which is again part of the issue. The Jund Clunk just continues to be an issue, but it's certainly one of the best commanders for smoothing out the awkwardness of Jund. Our 6s, we got like Felia, Ashling, yeah. Yeah, that is probably an accurate spot for all of these. Our 5s. Rasheen's the only one that I question maybe being a 5. And Raoul is potentially a 6, but
it's still just got too much fizzle potential to be a 6 for me.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
You mean Undertaker?
Do you just do most of those look for Imsker?
You can.
So Citadel's like a fine card you can play in the Imsker decks, but I think you end up using your life total a little too much to reliably use Citadel, but you can do just some crazy stuff with it. You could also just play like all the 0-drop artifacts and play like 20 lands in that deck, and just try to go buck wild that way, because your commander gets to be functionally 2 mana. Which then says Bolos and Citadel is great there, which, yeah, that would make sense, and putting it at an 8 still justifies that. There's a lot of different ways you can build Imsker for doing broken things, and also just playing the fair artifact thing it's very respectable.
Yep.
Our 4s? Yeah, they're all ones that I sit there and go, maybe there's something there that I need to think about more.
There are 2, being the Red Dragon and the Jeskai Fabricate Commander Kaith.
Yeah, those are the easy ones that I'm like, I can easily see them jumping up to a 5 if I see something.
They're 2 pieces. Both of them are 2 pieces away from being above average. So.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And again, with the Jeskai one having access to some of its tutors, that also helps a little bit. But again, that's one of those ones I'm just going to have to sit down one day and brew it to actually get a good feel for what's happening.
Not only are you going to have to brew it, we're going to have to brew it and then play it multiple times.
Yeah, that's fair. So. This may be one of our stream ones that we end up doing is Kaith, but not sure. Yeah, mech categories all meant to me. I would even potentially make an argument of Grist to a 2, but I'm not going to just make that argument.
If you want to move Tamiyo and Grist to a 2, because they're about on the same level for me.
Honestly, I think Tamiyo can do a little more. As weird as it is, I don't hate Grist, but I also don't like both of them not doing a ton for me. So, but I think they're both perfectly fine there.
Yep.
And Skoa.
Man, I wish this card had no text.
Good old Grandeur.
I wish all of its text was locked behind Grandeur, so I couldn't even give it a 1. We could just give it a 0 and call it good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a 0 though. It definitely has relevant lines of text and relevant things you can try to do with it. Those things just aren't particularly good.
Wolfsbane wants to see an Imsker brew stream and maybe an Omo brew stream.
I mean, both of those commanders are ones I'm interested in and I wouldn't mind doing. Although, we already played Imsker on the channel, so I'm a little more interested in picking something that we haven't. You can't actually see a list for yet, or at least. You can't see one of our lists for. I would love to take a look at a Johnny, for example. Like, how do we crack that boy?
Also, Omo
6 would also be kind of interesting.
Omo 6, I think out of the stuff we haven't touched yet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, those and Kaith. Kaith is again the commander that I'm kind of just Kaith and Haragast. I actually wouldn't hate doing a stream for Haragast as well, just because um, it is just that commander that I'm sitting there going like, there has to be something I'm missing, but I just don't know what it is.
So, I'm gonna be honest. We're probably under-evaluating most of the fours here.
Probably.
That's like a small disclaimer that we're just
Mhm.
gonna make. This set overall for Commander is actually insane.
Oh, 100%. If we compare this to other sets that we normally do, we don't get 10s or 9s very often. We usually get 1 to 8 in a set.
Mm-hmm.
We get a good number of 7s. We get plenty of, or at least we get a decent number of 5s. We get a ton of, or rather, we get a good number of 6s and a ton of 5s. A ton of 5s and a ton of 4s. The fact that we have very few 4s is surprising to me. We usually almost have as many 4s as we do 5s.
Yes. And then,
So,
to only have a fifth of the cards being pretty well duds
yeah,
is very good.
Yeah, very few of these commanders were designed for limited.
Yes.
Skoa is obviously the one that was designed for limited, and I would argue Genku is also a design for limited one.
Mm-hmm.
Urshin, I don't think has enough support to be designed for limited, so
No.
Is what it is. But yeah, all this is good. I like this. Matt, you got anything? Anything else you want to say?
I got nothing else. I'm putting us on the ending screen.
All right, then. Thank you all very much for coming out to watch another episode here of our streams for our Zur Scale streams. This time for Modern Horizons 3. We managed to get through all of them today, which is fantastic. If you want to hang out with us, we have a Discord. I highly recommend you join that. If you want to follow us on social media, we greatly appreciate it. You can catch up, get more alerts on the content. And if you want to support us financially, we have a Patreon. If you don't want to, that's cool. We also have other merchant things you can do. Don't forget to subscribe, watch our regular gameplay videos that we have on every Saturday, and we do some shorts occasionally. Chandler had a wonderful short today of him posting one of his polls from collector booster box that he did. I think, or he had a whole box, right? Or did he just do one pack?
He bought a whole box.
Got a whole box. That was one of the highlights of it. So go ahead and check that out as well. Thank you all very much for watching. This has been Jason and Matt. We'll see you all next week.
Have a good... Well, we won't see everybody next week, but we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely in 2 weeks. Take care.
Take care.